Charge fighting their way back on in. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another day of Overwatch League action. We are here for the APAC playoffs here in 2020. Things getting down to the wire now, Wolf. It's been a long regular season, but we are now here at the cusp of the playoffs and seeing who is going to be making their way into the grand finals.
Yeah, it's going to be a great set of playoffs that we're jumping into right now. I'm very excited to see how this this tournament shakes up here. We're going to obviously the last part of the play-ins tournament right now. And as we head into this, you know, there's a lot to keep in mind. Stakes are really high. Every team that loses today will be eliminated from the entirety of the 2020 season. There's no more second chances here. It's not regular season anymore, and there's no losers bracket for play-ins. But we're going to have our final bracket decided after this match day is complete. Here's our bracket.
Yep. Yeah, so we did see just yesterday, the only match that we had yesterday, the London Spitfire get eliminated by the Chengdu Hunters with a 3-1 victory for them. Looking pretty formidable are the Chengdu Hunters. Obviously, London Spitfire have been one of the lower opponents throughout the 2020 season in the APAC region. So now they do have to play and prove themselves against somebody like the NYXL, who has had higher peaks than the London Spitfire, and see if they can find success there. But if Chengdu can knock out NYXL, then suddenly Chengdu fans, things start getting pretty excited for them.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a huge win for the Chengdu Hunters to take. It'd be a huge upset for them. It'd be the best results, you know, they've ever had, historically speaking, if they could make that top playoff spot. But New York, definitely the favorites coming into tonight's match.
Yeah, I think just historically that would be the case, but also historically NYXL have had struggles when it comes down to the playoffs. But we went ahead, caught up with the team, and got their thoughts on the 2020 playoffs.
이제 18년 때 제가 1시즌 때 MVP 받았었는데 그때 심정은 솔직히 이걸 내가 받는 게 그게 이제 좀 그 년도에 이제 제가 프로를 좀 데뷔하기도 했고 그래가지고 그냥 뭔가 하던 대로 한 건데 뭔가 이제 이렇게 MVP도 받고 해가지고 신기하다 이 정도. 네, 저희가 상위권을 유지하다가 이제 1시즌, 2시즌 둘 다 아쉽게도 플레이오프 이제 결승전을 못 갔는데
그래서 그때는 좀 더 당연히 결승전 무조건 간다라는 마인드였다면서
다들 너무 잘하는 선수들이고 팀원들이고 이제 작년이랑 재작년에 아쉽게 됐고
그런 게 멘탈에 딱히 뭐 나쁘게 작용된 거는 그때 딱 한순간 말고는 딱히 없던 것 같고 오히려 이제 좀 더 동기부여돼서 멘탈적으로 좀 더 좋아진 것 같아요. 장애 이제 그랜드 파이널에 가려는데 이제 장애물이라고 생각되는 것들은 이제 저희랑 상대하는 뭐 팀들이라고 생각합니다. 저희랑 상대하게 될 팀들이라고 생각해요.
확실히 이전 뉴욕보다는 이제 좀 더 새로운 스타일의 뉴욕.
New York City continues to excite and delight, and their team, the NYXL, no different. Welcome back.
그런 걸 향해서 가고 있는 그런 느낌이라서 이전 시즌과는 많이 다른 것 같아요.
저희 팀이 이제 북미에 있다가 아시아로 넘어오게 됐었는데 그럼 뭐 경기 뭐 차이를 비교를 해보자면은 제 생각에는 아시아 이제 팀들이 더 잘한다고 생각하고 있고.
But he's showing absolutely no respect whatsoever for the New York Excelsior. 3 kills for Fleta.
이제 뭐 상하이 같은 팀을 무조건 이기고 올라가야 결승을 갈 수 있다 생각을 해서 이제 그런 팀들을 상대하는 데 있어서 굉장히 저희가 노력을 많이 해야 되는 것 같아요.
이번 플레이오프에서는 좀 이때까지와 다르게 좀 밑에서 시작하는 게 감이 있는데, 감이 아니라 이제 밑에서 시작하는데 그런 게 딱히 뭐 부담은 되지 않고 밑에서부터 좀 차례차례 꺾어서 이제 올라간다는 마인드로 플레이오프를 임할 것 같습니다.
역사상 오버워치 리그에서 역사상 가장 좋았던 순간이 이제 시즌 1 스테이지 3를 우승하고 가장 좋았어요. 근데 이제 만약에 이렇게 우승하게 된다면 글쎄요, 제가 감히 그 기분을 지금 알 수가 없을 것 같아서 말을 못 할 것 같아요. 그때도 그랬거든요. 그때도 이런 기분은 처음이다 해서 평생 기억에 남는 순간을 간직하고 지내고 있는데, 만약에 이번에도 그 순간이 온다면 다시 한번 평생 기억에 남을 순간을 만드는 거죠.
울지도 않을까라 그냥 그렇게 생각합니다. 이제 좀 너무 오랜만에 우승을 하는 거라
저희 멤버 3명 다 리그에 들어와서는 팀을 옮긴 적이 없기 때문에 이 팀에서는 꼭 우승하고자 하는 마음이 강할 것 같아요.
뉴욕에서 지금까지 쭉 같이 해온 멤버들이 많은데 지금 이 멤버로 우승하게 된다면 일단 너무 좋을 것 같고, 지금 갈수록 멤버들이 계속 바뀌고 있잖아요. 그런데 이제 더 바뀌기 전에 예전부터 같이 해왔던 멤버들로 인해서 우승을 빨리 했으면 좋겠습니다.
Well, unsurprisingly, the NYXL going for the crown, going for that victory in the grand finals, but first they have to get to the Chengdu Hunters. This is going to be their starting 6 on the day. In the DPS lineup, we have Sebiobi alongside Haksal.
Yep, and it's going to be Mono and Hoppa bringing up the off-tank role. No Bianca to start things off today, and of course Jonak and Anamo rounding things out. So you've got in this roster 4 OG New York players: Sebiobi, Mono, Jonak, and Anamo. Mono talking pretty, emotionally in that interview about how he wants to win the title that New York missed the last 2 years with his old friends and with some of those OG players from the original roster. New York, you mentioned it earlier, they've struggled in playoffs in the past. They're one of the most consistent teams ever historically in terms of regular season, even if you take this season into account, which has been their weakest season of the 3 years, which is saying a lot. But they have struggled in playoffs. They have choked. People like to say, I wouldn't always say it's a choke, but people like to meme about it. They have lost early in playoffs. They've lost late in the game in playoffs as well. They've never made a finals. This is the first step of their road to making this their season.
Yeah, if they can get through the Chengdu Hunters, who we'll now look at and see what their starting 6 is going to be. And I think after yesterday, it's not going to come as too much of a surprise for people. And we'll be having Jinmu and Leave to begin. Among is in, as well as Yveltal, who was able to pick up that player of the match just yesterday versus London with his, always stunning Mercy play.
Yeah, his Mercy is incredible, as we all know. And, there's a lot of different ways you can utilize the Mercy, obviously, in a meta like this. And with hero pools open, when Widowmaker can just slide into these control maps in particular, especially the more open ones like Busan, which is where we are headed for our first map. It's something that you are definitely going to want to keep in your wheelhouse. Glad to see Keo having a comeback as well. And we saw Among with some pretty good and insane Wrecking Ball plays yesterday. Perhaps his most famous was just sleeping his way to the end of that King's Row map. But this is the team that might be able to upset New York. In terms of the 4 teams we have in play-ins, the 3 opponents New York could have had, I feel like Chengdu, in a weird way, as crazy as it is to say, is the one that could upset New York of these 3.
Yeah, I don't think that, I was going through the Reddit comments and things on Twitter and whatnot, and a lot of NYXL fans were complaining about the choice for Chengdu Hunters. I honestly don't think that they had a very good choice. I think that the Seoul Dynasty and the Chengdu Hunters have similar levels of potential upset backing them, so it was kind of a loaded deck against them as far as who they could choose. I do think there's a slightly larger chance for the Chengdu Hunters to be able to upset in this match compared to that of the Seoul Dynasty, but who really knows? We just have to wait and find out. It's been a long time coming, a very long season to get us to this point, to be watching the playoffs right here, right now, and I am excited to kick off this series, and I'm hoping for a close one.
I'm hoping for a close one too. I hope we get to see the best that these 2 teams have to offer, because it's crazy that one of them will have the end of their season when these maps are over. And, I'm sad about it. You and I have obviously done the majority of the We're going to have a little bit of a pause here so we can elaborate.
Okay.
But you and I have done the majority
Step back in front of the camera.
Of the casting of the APAC region. Obviously, a few people stepping in here and there, and you and I have been, kind of in visa hell and everything else, and flying back and forth. So sometimes people have to cast for us. But I'm back home now. You're even back for a while.
That's correct.
I'm starting my quarantine. You just ended yours. That's how it goes. But I'm not gonna have to leave anytime soon. Anyway, going back to the point that you and I have spent a lot of time commentating these teams this year, and so a lot of the Korean rookies that obviously come up to these teams in the past as well, like Hoxall, for example, who's on the NYXL right now. Crazy that he would even end up there in the first place. But yeah, it's always sad to send players that you know really well home and players that you've been casting all year home.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is our home region, quote unquote, because we all commentate all the regions. All the casters have commentated Asia. We've commentated a lot of North America. We went to some of those homestands at the beginning of the year. Hard to remember that, I think, for a lot of people. We did go to some of those.
Yeah, we once were able to go outside and be in large clusters together. That's a really weird thing to think about.
Yeah. But, yeah, it is sad to see these players go. And we are going to see Sombra here, it looks like, from New York Excelsior. They're running the Sombra Tracer dive that, going into APAC, we knew was going to be very likely to be a common lineup. And every time hero pools are open, Sombra always sneaks her way back in. Chengdu Hunters going to be running the Sombra as well, but obviously they're running their own Among Wrecking Ball version of the composition.
And that is the least surprising thing that you could possibly think of. Mono going to be receiving a Discord Orb here for the moment as Among just goes in for a nice little poke with the pile driver. Doesn't find too much consistent damage. Now rolls through, tries to get a knockoff. Won't be able to find one, but Lit Young into the back line finds Jonak now with an ammo gone. There's no supports here for the NYXL, and Hoxall getting rid of Kyo is just not going to be enough for them to try to win out this fight you would anticipate. Hoppa now going to be D-Mech, no D-Matrix. So the first point lockdown going to be going the way of the Chengdu Hunters. A very nice start for them.
At the beginning of that fight, New York stepped onto the point that, they Lucio speed boosted in, but they weren't able to grab the cap. Chengdu Hunters had high ground advantage. Among's able to drop down. Late Young's got positional advantage, and they have leave. Long range damage coming through. Sabielby, look at his ult charge. He barely did anything in that fight in terms of damage, and as a result, Chengdu Hunters just have that high ground advantage, chip away at the NYXL, and grab that first cap. And, I mean, they didn't even really need to do that much with Kyo. Look at his ult charge as well, barely doing any healing. Well, there's a good move.
Now he's doing some killing.
Yep.
We'll just go ahead and eliminate Hoxall. Sabielby drains one back. Headshots in. Gets the elimination on to Leaf, but the res is crucially there, as always, by Yebeltal. This guy, I would love to know the average time that it takes for him to start using res from when his target dies, because it seems like it's within half of a second. He is always ready to go. So brings him back into the fight. And that is NYXL going to be staved off yet again. So he'll be able to do a bit more in this fight. Nearly has that Pulse Bomb online, but Hoxall is now the one who's lagging behind. 20% under Jinmu for that EMP charge.
And it's these quick picks, too, for the Hunters that mean that Anamo hasn't been able to do a lot of healing. He's so far away from his sound barrier, so Jinmu has this nice EMP advantage coming online right now. And they're going to have 6 ultimates, essentially, here. So New York need to engage fast, because if they lose this one at 99, it's all over.
Yeah, that's going to be the EMP coming through. Finds Mono, and he will get cut down. Leave finding that headshot as he tried to retreat to safety. Unable to get the Primal Rage online. Hoxall falling low, jumps back with the translocator. Almost has an EMP of his own, but it's going to have to be absolutely massive. And crucially, Kyo is holding on to that Transcendence to try and counteract all of NYXL's efforts to get onto this point.
NYXL need this EMP engage to be perfect, as they need to hack Kyo if possible, or at least threaten him, force him to trance early. Pulse, not good enough.
Out. Takes him low. Yes, Sabielby does have to follow up, but Hoxall now going to be eliminated before he can use the EMP, and they have to get over onto the point. Primal Rage here will force the Transcendence, just trying to knock Kyo away so they can pick off multiple members on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. Leave will get hounded down. Mono finding that kill. Hoppa going to be D-mech'd off on the side. He continues the pressure to try to make his way over onto the point. Hoxall would love to hold this EMP if they could just win out the fight, but he might have to pull the trigger on it. There's not the translocator, but it seems like he will be able to stave that off. So the flip comes through at 99%. NYXL now on the board. They've got the bomb, they've got the EMP to try and defend this, but Jinmu is right there with him.
Exactly. Jinmu gets a second EMP before Hoxall uses his first, and Hoxall now is going to have to use this aggressively. He's going to have to do a forward EMP here. Look at the Chengdu Hunters just building a counter composition here to win one EMP fight. That's all they have to do. They brought Yveltal onto the Lucio. Rare pick for him these days. Here's the EMP opening.
Yeah, manages to find 3. One of them is going to be Hoxall, so cannot use the counter EMP. Hoppa going to be taken out of the mech. EMP now coming through from Hoxel, and he gets nobody. He got absolutely nothing with that EMP. Sleep Dart now going to connect onto Amon, but Hoxel is already dead. Mono tries to drag this one back into a winnable fight position as Leave will get taken down and Sabiobi finds Kyo. So maybe despite Hoxel's blunder, they might yet be able to hold on to this point for a little bit longer. He's going to be rejoining into the fight still now at 6% as Jinmu is just lapping him consistently right now towards these EMPs. Leave on the point, looking for Hotba. Hack will expire, and Hotba does have the self-destruct to try to make his way back into the mech, and he's going to pull the trigger on that one. And will not be taken down in Baby Diva form, so he makes his way back through. York Excelsior almost out of options as far as ults are concerned. They need an ammo to get the sound barrier online. They do crucially hold on to the point for at least a little bit longer.
This is looking really, really nice for Chengdu Hunters. Starting to build up those ultimates.
Donut gonna be gone. Leave forced out, Mono hacked. Low on HP, trying to stay alive, trying to get some healing over to him, but Yveltal with the Lucio does manage to find that kill. Stick comes in as they break Hotba out of the mech, and Chengdu Hunters are back in control of this point with the OT starting to bleed away. Someone from NYXL has to touch. They finally do manage to tag in for a moment as Anama will drop the beat, puts that shielding out onto the DPS members, but there's just so much damage focused onto Hoxel that the shielding just might as well not have existed in the first place. They take him down, Anamo now going to be gone. Jonek returns, throws out that nano boost here onto Mono to try to keep him alive, try to buy time for him to get that Primal Rage online, but now he's going to be receiving the EMP from Jinmu. Clips onto 3 and the kills start rolling through, and it seems like it's just a matter of time now for that OT to bleed away. The Chengdu Hunters are absolutely relentless. They clean up enough members of the NYXL, they clear the point, and they take the first round 100% to 75.
Haxal with 2 EMPs that end up being no value. The first, obviously, which hits no on the second there as the point is finished. The round goes to the Chengdu Hunters, and Chengdu Hunters showing some insane flexibility. They swapped Kyo and Yveltal's heroes, but going rid of the Moira. Lucio executed it really well. Yveltal actually getting a kill on Sabiobi critically when he knew he didn't have recall, and actually hounded him down and killed him when he was low health. That was a huge turning point on starting to bring that point back into their favor. This is something that New York fans should worry about, even if they win this series today, you know, when they're down right now in the first round. But even if they win this series today, it's definitely a hole that's not going to go away. We're going to see Sombra for the rest of this playoffs in Asia. Hoxel cannot step it up. That is going to be a major issue. Right now, he is getting destroyed by Jinmu in that matchup. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people from the NYXL side of things would say, like, oh, well, why do the casters keep saying that, you know, Sabiobi's got a good Sombra, Sombra's not that good? It's historically better than Hoxel, is what I would say.
Yeah.
And I think that having them forcing Hoxel to run this is potentially going to hurt them in the long term.
Well, when you have to run both, you know, Hoxel's not great at Tracer either, so
I mean, I think that's when I would probably try to go for a Nene Sabiobi lineup, but we're not seeing that. Off the bat, though, we will see Late Young taken down. Mono with the pile driver will finish him off, but the solo HP that he does get eliminated. Late Young instantly res back into the fight by Yveltal, as we have come to expect on the regular, and Hoxel unable to jump out with that translocator in time, it would seem. Takes a ball to the dome. Kyo finds that kill, and with the point still unlocked, still not capped, this very well could be Chengdu Hunters getting the first lockdown again.
It looks like it. They're going to commit a nano boost in the NYXL. They're starting to get desperate here.
Okay, well, that's going to be 2 kills going their way. Yveltal not able to get a res off yet, might even still be on cooldown since the last one was used, and with Among falling, that is going to be enough people. So NYXL first on the point, but how long can they hold it is the question.
Yeah, Sabiobi here on the McCree doing quite a bit of chip damage at range, and that's actually really what wore the Chengdu Hunters down at the end of the day. And then obviously a nano boost onto Hoppa helps those targets that are weakened get finished off. They're not running any AoE healing, Chengdu isn't, that is. So the poke is actually really doing a number on them.
Now Bob tossed out on the point. Contested for now, but Late Young manages to kill off Mono with a rocket. Sabiobi looking for an angle, tries to get rid of this Bob, but he'll just go ahead and retreat. Deadeye will take down Among. Minefields have to be cleared. Sabiobi staying safe for the moment, but Anamo, Hoxel, now Hotba all going to be falling. So at 3 for 1 is all that they've got. Sleep Dart onto Jinmu, but no way to follow up. So Chengdu Hunters will go ahead, win out the fight, and get the point.
So this is going to be a really critical moment for Anamo. He's going to need to hit the sound barrier, as Jinmu is going to be very likely the initiator in this fight. They could obviously follow up with the Transcendence to the sound barrier to outlast that healing, and that's going to be a trade that's really, really important to watch here in this next fight. It's going to be a replay of, it looks like a kill there onto Hoxel from Jinmu. Not entirely sure we're watching this, but meanwhile, they haven't engaged yet. They need that sound barrier. Look, Anamo, 99%. They cannot fight without it.
Hoxall going to be pushed out. EMP comes through. It actually finds Kyo, even though he was already revealed. So no Transcendence to come out, and the bomb from Hoppa is absolutely huge. Takes down 2 Safe. You'll be on the follow-up with a double kill of his own. Looks for a little bit more, and NYXL explode their way back over onto the point.
Yeah, NYXL, you know, with Meko previously, were pretty famous for EMP or Earthshatter combos into self-destructs. Hoppa picks up the mantle this time in this playoffs here in 2020. They get to keep the sound barrier critically with this EMP engage, which means the initiation for Chengdu Hunters is not as potent as it would be otherwise. They still get to have that support ultimate used second. They can EMP into the barrier and then trance, so they have that extra healing, but it's going to be a lot tougher here with the sound barrier still available.
Kyo gets rid of Jonak. Waiting for their opportunity. Jinmu tries to get the hack here onto Hotba. Won't be able to find it with a right click. EMP still going to be held in his back pocket. The hack still looking for a target. Unable to find one. Hoppa going to be taken out of the mech, but they trade that back over onto Late Young. Haven't gotten rid of that pilot form Diva yet, though. And Kyo comes up with yet another kill. This time Anamo falling. Chengdu Hunters back in control of the point. 85% of the board for the NYXL, so still do have a considerable lead, but they haven't been able to force any ultimates away from the Chengdu Hunters.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the Hunters engaged there is very patient. You know, the trade-off is you're obviously going to get, New York's going to get 20-30% extra percentage when you do that, but you get to keep your ultimates, right? And this is realistically about 1.5 team fights left that NYXL has. Hoxall's been building his EMPs late. They know that. So they can kind of sit back patiently. As long as Kyo doesn't get hacked in the second fight, if his trance isn't used here, I think they've got a really good chance of taking this 2-0. They have the advantage now. Everything's in their favor.
Well, Jinmu was spotted, holds on to the EMP. Among just going to be cruising around the point, down to about half HP. The minefield will get dropped in. Kyo pops the Transcendence to go ahead and clear those out, keep everybody alive, and Hoxall eliminated. Lee finds the kill crucially before Hoxall can get that EMP online. He's just 1% away from it right now, and Hat will have to rejoin back into the fight. Mono now going to be eliminated, and this is the fight for NYXL if they want to extend this to a third and final round on downtown. And Chengdu Hunters pushing up now, getting ready to be in overtime. Hoppa with a nano boost, trying to stay alive, goes up into the air, throws out the self-destruct, looking for a pick, and will not be able to find one this time around. Hoxall's back in, he's waiting for his moment. Pile driver comes through, leave will fall. EMP out, catches 3. Kyo in the back, gonna be the first one to be taken down, and Late Young crucially cannot use that self-destruct to create some space to try and get a remake. NYXL now are the ones in control. OT will get forced out, but there's no one really here to touch. A great boop away onto Among, denies the extension, and we do have a map number 3 coming up to settle Busan.
Really nice plays by New York. Good delay to make sure the Hoxall could come back and get that EMP off. That was really the closing of that round was the EMP. They might have been able to win it without it, but they bought a lot of time, started trading well with the Hunters. And now we go to one final round to decide it all. And, you know, I will say that I'm liking the Hunters' versatility in terms of a longer series here. They're changing their playstyle multiple times. They're changing their composition here. It's going to be a shot of Anamo. Not entirely sure what this replay was. Just the knockoff here, which
yeah, just the denial.
I mean, it's not as cool as it looks at the end of the day because you know it was definitely going to be over, but that was the final moment.
But it's crucial.
It was the final moment. Yeah, that's what guarantees a second person doesn't show up. I mean, it's textbook, you know, just like shooting people in the head. But we got to see a replay of it for some reason.
In game. Pile driver.
All right, Mono's matching, by the way.
Yeah,
this is normally where he does play the Wrecking Ball on Busan. This is where you'll see him pull it out from time to time.
Yeah, had him going for it. It wasn't the cleanest play on Sanctuary there, but that's pretty good. They get the hack and they just absolutely obliterate Among. So a solid start to the round with NYXL yet again holding the point, and this is just going to be the follow-up kills coming through as they look to farm as much of their ults as they possibly can. Hoxall's going to have a nice little lead of about 11% or so as he continues to farm off screen against Jinmu.
Yeah, there's a lot of variance with these compositions. If one Wrecking Ball gets hacked instantly, you know, the team fight could just wildly go in favor of the team that will obviously follow up and kill him and then, you know, stomp everyone else as they crash through. It's an insanely mobile composition.
See you later.
And when you're running the McCree as well, the damage output is actually just so insane. When you get that first pick and you're no longer under threat of a Wrecking Ball pile driving you, you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, just sitting on the high ground right now is Hoxall. Spraying down from above. Kyo tries to keep himself up with that bio nade, but It's not going to do much good. So this is looking very dominant here for NYXL.
Yeah, your win condition as Chengdu here is to try to set up, you know, the faster EMP. You're supposed to win the longer range battle against the McCree, but they were too aggressive. They ended up losing ammo in the first fight. Second fight goes the way of the NYXL, and now NYXL actually get to have the first EMP, which is disastrous for Chengdu Hunters in terms of their initiation attempts. You can see Among has to go wide. Huge sleep to stop the EMP.
Absolutely massive from Keo. The sleep dart in the middle of the EMP. Hoxel shut down, put in the grave, 6 feet under. Sipyobi and Hoxel now going to fall, leave Rezzed back into the fight. And oh dear God, what a play from Keo to turn that on its head.
Yeah, that's a massive, massive play, right? That's everything I was saying leading into that fight. That's the moment where you're worried about Hoxel. You're worried about how are we going to win this EMP fight? We don't have our own just yet. We're not able to engage very well until that goes off, and you just counter it with a sleep dart. You get to hold the majority of your ultimates. They have 5 ults going to this. They only used the Bob. So this is definitely something that Chengdu Hunters can spin around and grab victory from.
Minefields out from both of our Wrecking Balls. A hack on the late young here for the moment. Jinmu pulls the trigger, throws out the EMP, will only find Hotba. He's taking lower and lower, and they managed to finish him off, but the self-destruct will come through. And it seems like he might just be able to, yeah, will be able to remech as Jonak does fall. Self-destruct from Late Young gets rid of an ammo, and things are now looking pretty good here for the Chengdu Hunters to be able to hold out on this defense. So NYXL in one-fight territory if they can get this flip back into their favor, but they might have to wait for a couple more ultimates because Hoxel's just at 62%.
The nano boost here, yeah, I was going to say, if you got the nano boost, you want to switch to Winston because nano boost isn't going to be that great for the Wrecking Ball to engage. It can give you some extra survivability, but you know it's not going to gain you an ultimate. If you have the advantage in terms of control meter, you might be able to get a primal with that nano boost. You can get a lot of it. Look at that, 45 already %, 55.
Yeah, I mean, Mono is just surging forward. Hoxel is as well towards that next EMP. And NYXL might just be able to close out this map for themselves. The Bob will finish off the Sombra here, but NYXL are now back in control of the point at 90%, looking for this finish, and they are pushing up towards the spawn room of the Chengdu Hunters to try and shut them down. If they find Among here, no one can touch the point. He goes back into that ball form, going to be taken down to about half HP as they get the tag in. Jinmu tries to force this out a little bit further, but instantly gets taken out with the help of that biotic grenade. EMP comes through, catches out onto 2, Keo and Late Young, as they try to stay alive, but it's just not going to happen. Yveltal picked off by the self-destruct, and NYXL, after a rocky start, will be able to close out Busan.
You can't question, say, Bilby's McCree. It's an incredible pick for him, and they look a lot more comfortable with the Sombra composition they're running when he's on the McCree. You could see the synergy is still there between Jonak and Mono. He swaps over to the Winston for the nano boost engage, does tons of damage for his team while being, you know, practically invulnerable. It was a really smart swap there at the last second, and it ends up gaining them victory there. So really nice synergy across the board for New York, knowing their win conditions despite being down in ultimates, despite being, you know, down in a lot of these fights, turning them around, just understanding the weak points of the Chengdu Hunters compositions, utilizing the Winston there at the last moment. Really nice to see. Great plays on both sides, though. I think we might be in for a close series here.
Yeah, and as always, I kind of have to hope that we're not cursing ourselves to, you know, one-sided series from here out. But I think that if this is any indication, this could be a very close series, potentially go the distance to a map 5. But man, I mean, what a way to kick it off. 3 very close rounds of Busan. NYXL kind of barely coming away with that second round, and then looking a lot more stable on downtown. But if we're gonna have swinging gameplay like this throughout the series, then I think that this could be a really, really exciting one to watch.
Certainly could, man. Certainly could.
All right, well, that's going to be us going to a quick little break, guys, and when we come back, we'll see if the Chengdu Hunters can tie up this series by putting a win on the board, so stay tuned. We'll be back at you in just a few minutes.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time to jump into map number 2 in our first series of the day. Chengdu Hunters currently down 0-1 versus the NYXL after a very close start on Busan. 2-1 for NYXL to take that, and the rounds, very close throughout. So this could definitely be a pretty spicy series for us.
Yeah, it certainly could. I mean, I feel like Chengdu has shown us a lot of versatility already in their compositions, and this is nothing new for Chengdu. Obviously, they play a lot of different styles. We'll see, though, what New York is bringing to the table now that we moved away from Control, because I don't think they're going to keep playing standard, quote-unquote, with these heroes. I don't know, how far the rabbit hole is going to go, I suppose is the best way to say it. I can tell you guys there's no subs on the side of New York Excelsior, and that means Hapa is staying in. Hapa is pretty famous for his Roadhog, so something that could end up being a thing as we move forward. And on the other side of things, we do have Molly coming in for the Chengdu Hunters. Keo out.
So Keo going to be stepping back. Yveltal, of course, staying in, because if you want Mercy in the game, then Yveltal is probably the best player in the league for Mercy play.
His Lucio's been good today, too. I mean, his Lucio is always good, but you don't see it that much recently. And we did see it, obviously, a little bit there on Busan. So a good start.
Yeah, but this guy, the Mercy God. But we'll let Molly get settled and ready to dive into the action to try and pick up a victory so they can tie up this set 1-1. Because like I said, I'm hoping that this one can go the distance. It's already been exciting enough in the first map, so if we could just keep that same level and move through 5 games, then I'm going to be pretty jazzed up. So I'm looking forward to that potentially happening. But King's Row going to be coming up for our next map, Wolf. You already kind of mentioned the Roadhog. We've been seeing it here and there. Got it yesterday for a bit in that London Spitfire series. Saw it, I believe, earlier on in North America as well. So it's definitely cropping up, but I don't think it's as entrenched in the meta as a lot of people were anticipating. Because I think a lot of people were kind of just basing it on solo queue and playing the ladder and whatnot, which you should never really do.
Yeah, that's rarely how the pro scene actually evolves, especially not in Asia, where scrim culture is so ingrained. And there's so many good teams you can scrim with. People think about Overwatch League teams and how many teams there are in the world. And sometimes you think, well, there's less Asia teams, right? So they must have a harder time.
Contenders, Korea, and Asia.
Yeah,
and,
Contenders, Korea has a lot of fantastic players, and they're all low latency, low ping scrims available. Most of these teams are in Korea, that we have in Asia, location-wise, so they can play against the Contenders Korea teams who are also in Korea. There's like no ping, like less than 10 ping. Sometimes less than 6 ping. It's actually insane how good the internet can be. I had a game earlier today at 3 MS.
Yep.
And I'm not even using my best internet. I haven't even installed my new internet yet. I'm just using the basic internet that comes with this house right now. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time that when I came to Korea and I played, Overwatch wasn't out by that point. I think it was the first time I played like a LoL game over here, and I was just like, 9 MS? Like, how was that possible? After I had lived in Los Angeles, 5 minutes away from the game studio and was getting like 70. It's like, okay, Korea's got it all figured out with their infrastructure.
Well, no hog here for New York, not at least to start things out. They're going to run the Ashe Sombra variation here of the pseudo dive. You can call it dive, I suppose. It's dive-esque with the Diva Winston. Just trying to threaten Among. That's exactly what he wants. He wants to burn cooldowns and then escape. Look how easy it is for him to get away with no lockdown. And it's just a slow trade here. But the trade favors Chengdu Hunters right now because they have high ground position. And Mono and Hoppa really haven't been able to gain much ground. Among's in their way.
Oh, well, yeah, Mono in a bit too deep. And you really have to show respect to those Discord orbs coming out from Molly. Saw Keo play a very clean Zenyatta, but Molly is not disappointing either as he swaps his way through. So allows them to go ahead and melt down that Winston. They get the D-suit onto Hotba, but they haven't been able to finish off that Baby Diva yet. Sleep Dart does connect onto Molly as well as the Bionade, but they cannot get the kill. Jonak pressing forward, does get taken down, but Sabiobi with a wraparound to the other side of the hotel. Does get that kill. Now no supports in the fight here for the side of the Chengdu Hunters. Leaf tries to trade it back a little bit. The Dynamite will get rid of his counterpart. NYXL need a little bit more, though, for staying power on this point. Hoppa pressing out around the corner, gets that Bionate, gets boosted back up to pretty, substantial HP here. And now NYXL are back over onto the point, ticking up. Second tick getting ready to come through. Jinmu drops down, has the EMP ready to roll. Yeah, they absolutely are going to go for it. But Translocator going to be gone, so actually they think better of it.
I feel like this was a smart choice in a lot of ways to save ultimates. It was risky to re-engage, but they were so set up to do it. The problem was Among was just a little bit too far away. You can reveal on point an EMP and then come in with a minefield and set up for a Transcendence. You've got, a lot to work with. But if you lose that fight, you've traded everything, and New York gets so ahead. So it's just high risk, mild reward type of play, and they don't go for it.
Yep. Oxal looking for the drop down hack onto Yveltal, cannot find it. Amon gets rid of 2 with a minefield. Junic and Subyobi both going to be blown to bits, but Mono goes in with the primal range, manages to dismantle the back line. Support's now gone for the Chengdu Hunters as NYXL look to break through the choke. Bob is going to be out, will not be contesting the card, but Amon is there to do just that.
Amon picks up 3, and it's an insanely good trade for the Chengdu Hunters. Right now, Amon looks like he's in a bad spot, but does just go ahead and grab this hacked health pack. The hacked health pack actually really helps Amon because of his playstyle, right? He loves to go in, harass, and then retreat. People think of him as aggressive Wrecking Ball, but he actually pokes and runs away a lot. And the health packs that are hacked means that it's so much easier for him to actually do that and run away and then come back in and harass like this. Obviously talking about his team's health pack, not the enemy ones in this case.
Yeah.
This do not help him.
Roll through comes out, Sleep Dart will connect, self-destruct up over the top. Looking to buy some space here for Amon. Hotba with his self-destruct will manage to get rid of Yveltal, now can go ahead and remake as the res comes through from Anamo. Sabiobi pushing up around the corner, has the damage boost coming out from Anamo to go ahead and empower him, and the Bob is just wreaking havoc. Screw watching Hawksalt, just show me the Bob. Can we get a Bob perspective? Maybe we should build that into the game. Just watch Bob's spectator mode. It's just his arm sticking out as he snaps on the targets. I think that'd be great.
Well, we got Tac Visor. You can imagine what it looks like. This is going to be a cap here.
It's something that I need.
They can't contest this.
Please, Jeff. Give us a Bob spectator cam.
And the reason why they don't contest, part of the reason why, just to go further on this, is they're too far away, and Leave can't get that high ground position in the middle. And that's the toughest part of this, right? You can't fight, say, Bilby without that. Now you can see he's slowly pushing over towards it as best as he can. If they retake this, that's ideal when you're running this Ashe composition.
Yep. Crucial eat on that dynamite there from Hotba, denying a lot of damage away from Leave and ensuring that he won't have that Bob up yet. And that connected, he would have had that ready to roll, but he's still just a couple shots away. He's got plenty of beefy targets to go ahead and hit with those wide hit boxes. Hack out onto Hoppa will force him back around the corner as the Chengdu Hunters begin to play down on the ground. Jinmu just going to be waiting to pull the trigger on this EMP. Pretty much any target is going to be good for him since there's not a Zenyatta to have to take into consideration. So he can get any of the supports, it's still going to be massive, but instead it will be the tank line that receive the hack, but they cannot follow up for the kills. Jinmu now going to be swapping off of the Sombra, moves over onto the Hanzo as the Bobs will come out crossing paths. They clash, throw each other up into the air. Dynamite out from Leave, looking for the kill here as the Bobs will just get traded out. Card continuing to inch forward for NYXL, still with 3 minutes remaining in the time bank. If they can get through on this push, that is a very healthy finish for them. Sabiobi gets a headshot onto Leave. Damage now going to be cut down considerably for the Chengdu Hunters as they look to hold out. Transcendence expired now from Molly, kept the rest of the team alive for the moment. As the self-destruct will find Jonak, very nicely tossed out over the top. Sabiobi receives the nano boost. Tries to get the force back here onto Molly, gets the cleanup kills. He takes on Yveltal as well with the headshots, gets the dink onto Leave, looks to finish him off, can't quite do it, but Hotba presses forward, runs him over, gets Elsa as well, and now it's all on Among. They're trying to buy some time for someone else to rejoin. He's falling lower and lower. They get the tag in from Yveltal, but he's going to get cleaned up as well. With the self-destruct laid in, NYXL will be able to glide into point C with 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining.
It's a pretty nice time. It's quite high.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. But this is not over by any means. I feel that Chengdu Hunters can definitely match this time with a good run of their own. I think a lot of that's going to depend on how well A goes for them. New York Excelsior on the defense, I think they're going to stick with this Ashe Sombra, especially because obviously, say Bilby and Hawksol are in the lineup, we saw them do it well on attack there, but on defense, it's going to be even stronger. You're going to have that high ground by default. And part of the end of this map is actually, you know, New York having that high ground control. The sleep dart here is insane. Hoppa is just chasing down and getting these kills. Anyway, part of this was the high ground that was taken away from Chengdu by Saebilby. He got on the high ground, and unfortunately, there was just no way for the Hunters to match Saebilby's firepower on the other side. Like, Leave was just constantly outgunned. He was outpositioned. And so, you know, New York just kind of have easy fights with their tanks, because the tanks never get chipped away at when, you know, the enemy Ashe can't show herself to, you know, stop them from just coming in for free, right? If you come in at half health, it's a lot more difficult to actually get those backline kills. And it is going to be that same comp. Hunters, though, teasing the Pharah Widow. I don't know if this will be a long-term thing, but it definitely can work if you can get a lucky pick. You could steamroll through A with the extra damage.
Interesting.
They're going to stick with it. I'm a little bit surprised by this. I mean, it's Chengdu, so like only a little bit surprised, but a little bit surprised.
Yeah. Rockets coming down from above. Jinmu for now not going to be too pressured. Takes a little bit of damage. Gets the spot there onto Saebilby, so knows exactly where he's going to be. Instantly places a rocket at his feet and forces him off that high ground for the moment. At least has to wait for the coach gun to come back up off cooldown so he can leap back up into the window. Nice shot. Almost eliminates Jonak. First tick comes in for the Chengdu Hunters. Jinmu gets rid of Hawksall, now begins to look for more. That barrage is just 25% away. Dive into the backline here from Mono. He's looking to get the kill on the lead, but the peel is just too damn good. Among strikes him down. Saebilby will find Molly. Chengdu Hunters now losing out on Jinmu.
Not working out like they wanted to.
Yeah, they might yet be held off. They get a little bit of extra percentage here on the point. The res comes through on the Jinmu, puts him right back up into the skies, and the barrage is almost ready to go. If they can break Hotba out of this mech, it could be absolutely massive for them, but that is proving to be a little bit difficult.
Among's just trying to carry regardless of the Pharah or not. He just doesn't care.
Minefield down over at the back entrance of the hotel. You can see Namo taken to the skies, flying around with that ult ready to go. EMP now comes out. Jinmu going to be hacked. Can't use the barrage. Is trying to stay alive. Gets jumped on. Goes back up into the air. He fell down to 3 HP. And Yveltal keeps him sustained. He had as much health as you have MS, Wolf.
No one can hide.
Well, I gotta say, it's starting to look a little bit better for the Hunters here, especially with the barrage being good.
The barrage goes out. Mono goes down. Cleanup comes through. That will be the near wipe here. Saebilby is the only one left standing, retreating back, but the chase comes in. Leave gets the kill, and now he's looking for anybody who is split spawned exiting that subway. The cap will come through, so 4 minutes and 16 seconds on the clock for the Chengdu Hunters as they wait for the cart to come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a happy moment for the Hunters because they win A with Pharah Widow against a comp that has both D.Va and the Ashe that could really make this difficult to execute. They were able to find those shots. I mean, Jinmu survives with 3 HP, as you mentioned. But there's always a but to these, right? The time bank isn't as insane as you would like to have if you want to match New York. Now, you know, they're still on pace to have a time bank if they finish the map, but it's not as great as you'd like. And I'm still, I mean, further surprised by the fact they're sticking with this composition. Much more difficult to execute the Pharah in these choke points. If New York plays passively, they play back and defensively. It's hard for Jinmu to find angles where he's not exposed.
Yeah. Well, self-destruct out from Hoppa, not going to find a pick. Just force the Transcendence from Molly, however. And Among does it again. He gets both supports with a minefield. Another double kill for him. Hawksall going back on the hunt. Trying to build up for that EMP, but he is already so low. Saebilby picked off. Among is doing so much work right now for the Chengdu Hunters. And NYXL just have not really been able to contain him.
It's almost like the game plan here for the Hunters is to make everybody look up at Jinmu, and then Among just comes around like, hey, remember me? Obviously, these choke points on King's Row, the minefield is going to be so difficult to avoid. So if you get a nice angle with your grapple, you get on top of people, but at very, very low, you know, verticality, you can drop the mines onto them very quickly and get instant blow-up kills like what we're seeing. EMP here, not really going to turn the tide.
Yeah, it gets 4 people, but he dies instantly, so can't go in for any kind of follow-up. The point gets capped, and now there's over 4 minutes remaining here for the Chengdu Hunters on the final stretch. I mean, you know, they hold on to a Valkyrie, they have a self-destruct, they've got that barrage, so plenty of firepower here for the Chengdu Hunters to try to break through.
Yeah.
But with Leave getting stomped, this could slow them up a little bit here as they get ready to go around this first corner.
Setting up for Barrage is going to be difficult with Sabiobi always ever the watchful here. He swapped over to McCree to make it an easier time. Here's the bomb engage. And it sets up the Barrage.
But Jinmu takes down 2. The Barrage comes in. The sleep dart way too late from Jonak. Hoxel does manage to collapse on top of the Pharah to go ahead and get the follow-up kill, and with the faster run backs, the respawns coming in, and YXL should still be able to stabilize despite the Barrage looking pretty good for the Chengdu Hunters at the start. Yveltal now going to be gone. Mono does get rolled over even with that nano boost, so they could try to push back in here, but they're still waiting for Yveltal to go ahead and rejoin. A nice stick comes out. Jonak going to be eliminated. Rez comes out instantly, however, from Anamos, is still just keeping the playing field leveled. Minefield comes down. Among goes in, pile driver, doesn't get too much and can't get back behind cover before the Deadeye claims him. So a nice pick off here from Sabiobi, who's now looking for more. Rez comes out, look at him. Yveltal is right up in the face of everybody against the McCree, doesn't give a damn, puts the hamster back into the mix of things. Self-destruct now out from Hotbra, looks for a pick, doesn't find one, but the Bionade onto the Chengdu Hunters is rather huge as Jonak goes ahead and helps pick up those next 2 kills. Sabiobi gets some on the back end as well, and this is going to be NYXL at least guaranteeing a superior time bank for themselves.
Yeah, this McCree swap has done wonders for them. It makes it a lot easier to deal with the Pharah. It's obviously been swapped off quite some time ago now onto the Sombra, but it's a nice pick for Sabiobi here. New York Excelsior stabilized big time. Gonna swap back over to the Ashe now, obviously because of the swap, and he doesn't want to get outranged. Among's got to be careful about overextending with some of these roll-ins.
Yeah. And a boost out. Mono gets the Primal online. Does get hacked, and they focus fire him down before he can use that ult. And they're going to be aware that he does have that after the hack comes through. Can see that percentage. Hacked out of the EMP. Absolutely massive from Hoxall. Shuts down Jinmu. Is that going to be enough for them to hold here? Hoppa's still going to be desuited. The Baby Diva under fire. As Hoxall will fall, Among finds the kill. But crazy hack timing there from Hoxall almost kept them in that fight. Cart still advancing, still yet time for NYXL to try and delay further. The Primal Rage is out from Mono. They need to try and peel this big angry monkey, but they don't do it. He's not on the cart. It moves through, but still almost a minute advantage now for New York.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to rely on a touch there from the Diva and getting the Immortality field out. You saw the last minute swap there from Anamo onto the Batiste, but they can't be too unhappy about this, right? They're 54 seconds ahead, just under a minute time bank advantage. And I mean, New York Excelsior, they dealt with an unusual composition very well, and that's something that New York is very good at, is dealing with unusual compositions, dealing with curveballs. They respond quickly, they react quickly, and with what the Hunters were trying to do, it's very high risk, and it didn't give them an amazing time bank on A. It was decent, but it got them an amazing time bank to B, right? And it was at that point that New York swapped over to the McCree and start dealing with the Pharah a lot better, a lot more efficiently, and then Chengdu Hunters kind of had to change composition. That's where the time bank went from 4.5 minutes down to 1:26. Is that transition where they had to swap over back to their own Sombra Ashe when New York kind of put the brakes on the Pharah hype train. So that's something that, obviously comes back to bite the Hunters here. They are going to be on the attack once again here first. See if they really want to make this echo happen, because it's another risky pick. We're going to have a good defense if this doesn't work out. Okay, they do swap.
Slightly. We'll have the Ashe instead of the Widowmaker this time around. As he goes ahead and starts taking some shots. Almost found Sabiobi there. Would have been huge, but Mono is potentially even a much bigger find. Again, gets the headshot dink onto Sabiobi. Cannot finish him off, and the res is there, as always, from Yveltal. I'm going to have to just stop saying it because it's just a given. Lee finally does line up for the kill to get rid of NYXL's captain. Hoxall down as well, and this is looking like a point A capture for the side of the Chengdu Hunters. NYXL, they could string out onto the point, try and drain a little bit of extra time away, but it's better to just go ahead, recuperate, get reset, and ready to try and fight at the choke to stop that card from gaining any distance.
Well, it's kind of a catch-22 problem for, say, Bilby now. If he does end up swapping over to the McCree, he's going to have a problem dealing with Leave if Leave gets good line of sight. But if he doesn't swap, then Jinmu's Pharah, he's already proven that even though it's not the best map for Pharah, historically speaking, it's actually one of the worst maps for Pharah, the Streets phase. He's still getting value out of this hero, so he sticks with the Ashe. And the cart, you know, still rolling. Chengdu Hunters playing far forward. That's why they only had one on the cart for a moment. They're just trying to control high ground. Haksal looking for a backline hack here.
Gets a spot out onto Molly. The hack will come through. Meanwhile, off screen, that's going to be CBLB taken down, and Haksal cannot get the kill on the Molly. He actually almost traded that one back. Barrage comes out, not going to be getting too much value. The D-Matrix is there, and it was just a little bit too much distance for those rockets to fly. Mono still does die as he leaps his way up into the front line of the Chengdu Hunters. So they pick him off cart, now getting dangerously close to point B. Pile driver comes in, Among nearly with a minefield online, has it now. Rolls forward, drops it down onto 2. He's looking for a kill onto a Diva as well as a Mercy, 2 of the more elusive characters. Tries to push them back into it, but can't quite find it. So the minefield not going to be getting too much value. EMP comes out from Haksal. Does manage to catch multiple members on the side of the Chengdu Hunters, and they need to follow up to boot. Molly able to get clipped by that one. Now is going to be res back into the fight by Yveltal.
Still rolling.
Will get popped as the cart continues to hinge forward towards point B. Haksal swapping over onto the Tracer. An extremely rare sight to see as he desperately tries to make his way back over onto this cart to stop it from rolling into the point. Jinmu going to be taken down as CBLB finds the headshot. Yveltal moments before. Goomba stopped out. Great primal rage hits there from Mono. Do gatekeep Among away from forcing out extra OT. But man, what a run here for the Chengdu Hunters to make it that far.
And I feel like you're one of the only casters who really does credit him for doing so, but Yveltal is having a phenomenal game. You know, you talk
this
about
guy is a god!
You're talking about his reses non-stop, but you know, I think people often take res for granted. You know, you see, oh, somebody died, somebody got killed by a Widow, the res comes through. I think a lot of people miscredit Mercy as being an easy character to play. It's very simple, you know, no good players play Mercy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people say that, right? But Yveltal, I think, really turns that narrative on its head. He's resing players that are in the front lines, right? He's resing Among, and we know how Among plays or know where he is on the Wrecking Ball. He's able to fly in, get reses off at incredibly risky situations, then escape. He's getting fast Valkyries. His Valkyrie timings have been really well done. And he's doing this, by the way, he's resing Among in situations where he's also trying to balance keeping Jinmu alive on a Pharah against, you know, an Ashe and a Diva who are trying to kill the Pharah nonstop. I think New York Excelsior may wanted to have swapped, say, Bilby over to the McCree earlier. That might have been the better option. It gave them a lot of success on C. Doesn't matter now. Hindsight, obviously, is 20/20. And for them, all they need to do is pass that 111-meter mark on B. They're going to start things off with the Reaper here to try to win the war of attrition on A. Interesting choice here. Very strong once you close the distance to that point. And that's why they're using the Lucio.
Yeah, they have the Lucio. They've got the Moira for the burst, you know, AoE healing if people are clumped, so kind of just want to run at the Chengdu Hunters, but they're very elusive picks here with the Wrecking Ball and whatnot. Even if you get a hack onto him, getting the Reaper up in range to really maximize the damage output of the shotguns can be difficult. Among rolls through, doesn't have the pile driver available, so just has to go for some primary fire damage. Rolls back in. Molly's going to be gone. A great start here as Haksal finds that pick off that had eluded him in the last round. Shotgun blast going through, chunk out Among, and it seems like NYXL might just have been able to break through on the first attempt here for point A. With Among going down, and we'll have to do it.
You can see how little Among can really delay and how little he can kind of bounce back and forth on the point when there's the threat of a Reaper and a Sombra that, as you mentioned earlier, can hack him and put an end to his stalls. So yeah, he tries his best, and that was the best he could have done to stall against that composition there. But this guarantees New York a decent time bank, you know, as decent as it gets for an overtime push to try to set up for an advantage here. And they actually have the lead on EMP as well.
Yep. Mono diving in, gets that Discord Orb, steadily being topped back up. The Coalescence comes in from Jonak to go ahead and keep him in the fight. They get the DMAC onto Elsa now. And suddenly things look very, very good for NYXL. If they can get through this choke with little to no issue, then this is absolutely winnable for them with 38 seconds still remaining in the time bank. Among starting to play forward. Has that minefield, but he's waiting for the opportune moment to go ahead and drop it.
Yep, Sabilby, meanwhile, almost has a Death Blossom EMP combo. You know, hasn't been historically a great combo, but it can work out. And here comes the EMP setup for Haksal. They need to close this out right now.
Oh. Well, that is not great. Already Sabilby going to be gone. The bomb taking him down. Haksal throws the EMP, does find Among crucially, who NYXL do manage to kill off, but he's going to be able to get back into the fight very quickly, and Yebeltal, as he try to go for a res, he's going to be hacked here. Now grounded. Pulls his way back around the corner. EMP comes out from Jinmu. Anamo going to be hacked. Shield's not there from the sound barrier. NYXL still looking to turn this fight on its head. Pile driver comes through, they push up into the air, chasing down Anamo, trying to get that kill. Self-destruct is going to be forced out from Elsa, looks for the pick, finds the Lucio, but it will be traded out for Yebeltal. So I think it's going to be a massive trade up here in favor of the NYXL. Card now still moving forward.
They've got a Doomfist swap. They're going to have to look for picks. The Transcendence may be what saves them. They're going to have to try to time it here for after that Death Blossom. Oh, look at perfect hack.
Haksal. Perfect position from Haksal. The Bionate going forward. They're looking for the kill on the Amon, and they have found it. Haksal with that hack might have actually put them across the finish line here to try to move up 2-0. Death Blossom now coming through. The boot back comes out. Sabilby focus fired. The punch from Jinmu will strike him down. Haksal nearly with another EMP. Has it online. Pulls the trigger. Finds 3 members on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. Elsa going to be taken out of the mech so far. Yebeltal and Lee will be allowed to survive for a little bit longer. Haksal still here on the high ground. Looks for the hack. Finds Jinmu. Takes him down the minefield from Among. Gets rid of Mono. Hotba. D-Mech. Haksal. Discord Orb taken lower and lower. Drops down to contest the cart, has to jump away. The OT is plummeting. You can see how quickly it goes away. And with that final self-destruct, Chengdu Hunters have bought themselves enough space on the cart. They have bought themselves a victory here on King's Row and have now tied up this series 1-1.
Chengdu looking absolutely phenomenal, that whole map. And bring, again, diversity of composition. Bring in the Pharah to find a lot of success. The Doomfist coming through there at the last second to shut down Sabilby, you know, towards the end of his Death Blossom. Just showing that they have such a wide, I don't want to call it hero pool, right? Because especially because we talk about hero pools, it's like what heroes you can't play. But they have such a, the roster they have can play such unique heroes at the highest level. And they clearly do it a lot where they are, you know, basically set up to play these scrappy team fights. They clearly scrim with a lot of these hero compositions. So you don't expect to see the Pharah coming in like this. You don't expect to see the Doomfist come in and save the day. But these things are done by the Chengdu Hunters because they have just such a weird, odd knowledge of how to play with a mismatched hero composition that doesn't make sense from a standard perspective. And Yveltal is a god, and he's getting these reses. His heals are incredible, and he's making it happen.
Yeah, I mean, he is. He's making a strong argument potentially for some back-to-back player of the matches. Among is right up there with him, however, and was, you know, in the same position yesterday. But yeah, those guys, the whole team overall performing pretty phenomenally there on King's Row. So they get that win. They tie this series up 1-1. When we come back, we're going to have our game break. We'll go ahead and talk about these first 2 maps and where we expect the rest of the series to go. So stay tuned. We'll be back with that in just a few.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
It is time for our game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. We have a tied-up series 1-1 at the moment between the Chengdu Hunters and the New York Excelsior, and this is what we're hoping for, Wolf. After map 1, we said, you know what, could be a very close series, and so far they are delivering on that.
Yeah, I mean, so far it has been very back and forth. Both maps were very close as well, down to the wire on that defense there for Chengdu on King's Row. You know, you look back at Busan, very close 3 rounds there. It could have gone either way. But, you know, at first I thought, well, maybe New York's lack of diversity of their compositions might end up being what does them in this series. But after watching King's Row, I start to feel like, no, they're pretty good at dealing with almost anything. Their response to the Pharah composition was very well done, very well thought out.
Yeah.
And I can't really fault New York for losing that map. They played everything almost perfectly. Like, they did everything to the best of their ability. I really like the Say-Bilby swap onto the McCree on C during that first attack before overtime rounds. They delayed a lot. Obviously had a much better time bank, about a minute, but that's significant, you know, when both teams have that overtime push. So I like what New York is doing here.
Yeah, I mean, I do as well. It's, you know, some blunderous moments from time to time, particularly around Hoxall with his Sombra play. You can see that it's still not the most comfortable thing for him. There are a lot of inconsistencies with his performance, but for every low that he has also had a pretty decent high. You know, getting the hack on the Jinmu to take him out of the middle of his EMP cast. He's been coming up with some pretty clutch EMPs as well. So, you know, it's a lot of ups and downs from right now, and if they could just kind of ride the line just a little bit above average, I think that this would be a much easier series for the NYXL to get through. Yeah.
For Hoxall, you know, something we're going to have to focus on here during our crunch time, I guess you could say, presented by Cheez-Its Grooves. I do think that it's a little bit worrisome if you're an NYXL fan looking forward to not only this series, but the further series that we have, obviously for NYXL on their route to potentially the grand finals, is just how well does his Sombra adapt, you know? Because in terms of just raw hacking and right-clicking, he's doing okay. His EMP efficiency, not so great so far. You know, historically speaking, Hoxall was only a Sombra player during what we like to call the DPS Sombra era in Season 1 of 2018. If you look at his career historically, he hasn't really played it since then because it hasn't been his role, right? He's a projectile flex player. And during that era, it was about getting kills with Sombra. The fact that EMP was a thing was just like, oh, okay, we have EMP. It's kind of important, sort of. Everyone was figuring it out at that time. Now, I mean, EMP is the crux of everything. And getting right-click hacks and you know, hacking priority targets is something that's pretty much second nature to every Sombra player. So Hoxall's got that part down. If he could set up for better EMPs, I think they're going to be looking a lot stronger, and I think that's something they really need to do, not only in this series, but looking forward to what happens next if they get out of this play-in stage, because it's a pretty glaring weakness I feel like a lot of teams will study and attack. So Hoxall, I know he's got the potential. I want to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, again, if you look forward, just kind of projecting in your mind where NYXL could end up, say they take this series, they start moving forward, if they have, you know, playing against the likes of the Guangzhou Charge and especially the Shanghai Dragons, you need to have more consistent performances around that Sombra, because Shanghai, they might have Ding, but they don't need Ding because Lip has leveled up his Sombra so much from when he debuted. You know, some would say that he was actively a problem for the team and that they should take him off the roster or else they're trying to throw. But I think we're past that point now, and we can just kind of celebrate how good they are. And NYXL need to find that same transition for Hoxall on this Sombra.
Yeah, they certainly do. I think that's really the big thing to look for Chengdu. You know, otherwise, besides some overextensions for Among where he just ends up getting hacked, which is rare, but you know, there are a few of those moments where he just kind of goes in and Hoxall's waiting for him. If he could tighten that up, I mean, I think Chengdu absolutely can win this series. It's a much closer series, I think, than most people expected.
Yeah, absolutely is. And I'm just hoping that we continue through with that. Temple of Anubis is going to be our third map. We'll see which team can take a step forward in this series and move to match point, or if it ends in a draw. I don't really care as long as we have more Overwatch on the horizon. But that next map is going to be coming up in just a little bit. So thank you guys for joining in for our crunch time and our game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. We'll be back in a few minutes for the rest of this series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
This 双方真的是就抢几换一样。
这个试车我觉得不好说啊。好的吧，
完了，对面反手机会要来了。这波机会一丝线能打死吗？没打死，扎着正年中，还带了两个战士，一屁股直接做手，还补了一个星星。
这一波是
赶紧杀绝，
这波是
哎，这波是
他是那个，然后这一波我在第5层，离开直接旋转了起来，这边Mano 也倒地。
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get on with the rest of this series between the NYXL and the Chengdu Hunters. Tied up 1-1 as we come out of the halftime break. And Temple of Anubis could very well decide who is going to be moving up to match point.
Yeah, this is a map that I think we'll very likely see similar compositions to what we saw in the last two maps. I think this is one where you could definitely see the Reaper make a comeback as well. We've seen that from NYXL to try to take a fast cap on B, for example. Have that extra staying power, very strong against Wrecking Ball on attack. So certainly a possibility that we see that come through again. Obviously a little bit more difficult when you're attacking A because you're going to have to, you're going to have to push through not really well protected towards the point itself. It's not really like King's Row where you can kind of walk through and just get there for free. So might see that on B for NYXL. Otherwise, Ashe going to be very popular here. You're going to see Sombra just because of EMP. When you take hero pools away, Sombra is always going to be relevant because her ultimate is so incredibly strong. As long as she's available, which when no hero pool is the rule set, you're going to see her a lot. And I think we're probably going to see her throughout the rest of APAC and most of NA as well, all the way to playoffs and finals.
Yeah, I do have to agree with you on that front. Here we go. Temple of Anubis will load up. We do not have any substitutions from either side. So we'll just be the same rosters from King's Row moving forward in this series. So Hawksall still here. Let's see how he fares as we continue to press forward with his likely Sombra pick. Also, I get it, guys. I'm not wearing my glasses. I know it looks a little bit weird. Seeing some comments, some tweets. But we're trying something new. This is
It's called
Playoffs
Contacts.
Achilleos. Yeah.
Okay.
Playoffs Achilleos is here. Thing is, the contacts are actually slightly off. I have 2 different prescriptions for my for either eye, so my lenses on my glasses are not the same, and these are about like 0.25 off on either eye. So things are a little blurry for me from time to time, but it's better than having a ring light reflecting in my glasses all the time.
Yeah, though that's, you know, not to name any names, but Bren, you know, has that problem as well with the ring light. But that's just how it is.
Not to name any names.
Not to name any names. That's his caster. That's his caster ID. So, you know.
It's very considerate of you.
I wouldn't say his real name. Bren Cass. Yeah. You know, he has a similar problem.
Yeah.
Well, we have the same comps here. Mono on the Winston. No Zarya though. That's going to make it really hard on Anubis. They're still running the Diva. Axel actually doesn't get the hack there like he was looking for.
Whoop, yeah, and he gets forced out of it there. On the backside of that pile driver.
That's all Imong really has to do is trade the hack cooldown, leave, and then repeatedly slow down what New York is doing. I appreciate kind of his repeated harassment attempts.
Yeah, rolling through, gets a little bit of damage there on the Hoxels. Anama will get picked off. A good headshot from Leave, shuts down the Mercy. Now everybody else is going to be that much more vulnerable to getting eliminated.
When you run...
Dynamite, he's trying to get the shot there, but can't quite detonate it.
They're going to chase even further here, too. When you run this Winston comp, you're always going to get big shields as the Wrecking Ball. So Among, he very rarely drops below like 400 health in these fights. Great Dynamite there. But, yeah, I mean, he's just not even really under threat most of the time. And he gets hacked, that's where it changes. He gets hacked here on the side and will get taken out.
Yeah, crucial pick off. The bomb going to be charging right across the walkway. Goes into the back of the side room there, however, so it's not going to be contesting anybody over towards the point here for the moment, and everybody else is upstairs. Leaf tagged up, but Yellow Ball is there hovering around with the Valkyrie to keep him alive. And with that pick off, NYXL didn't really make their way to the point. Dynamite tossed out from Leave, looking for a little bit of extra damage here. Doesn't find it, but Mono barely gets that Primal Rage off in the nick of time. Discord Orb, however, still means that he is a very vulnerable target, so gets knocked down below half HP rather quickly. EMP comes through instantly. The kill is there on Tamale, who had already burned the Transcendence. Leave, however, starting to trade it back. Manages to find 2. The DPS duo on the side of the NYXL going to be eliminated. The self-destruct out from Elsa, looking for a pick, but will not be able to find one. But NYXL still not really getting much done on this point. Halfway to a single tick, and unless they can close this out here, that is going to go back down to 0. Hotba pushes up here onto the high ground. Elsa going to be slept for the moment, pops back out. Pocket healing coming through from Manamo. Keeps Hotba in the mech for a little bit longer. They get the hack, they force him out crucially while that hack is still rolling, so he cannot use the self-destruct. But NYXL still are finding more kills. Among gone, now Jinmu joining him. It seems like with those picks, New York will be able to lock down point A right at a minute and a half remaining.
Yep, so it's going to be 4:30 on the clock for the B push. No great and amazing ultimates here to try to go for a double cap. There's no risky feel if you're the Hunters right now. You know they're going to throw a Nano Winston at you very likely coming up here. But besides that, you feel pretty poised to defend this next push. You know Haksal doesn't have an EMP. You're going to have your own. Jinmu's looking for a backline hack here to get the last part of that. Potentially a kill here on the Jonak. You can actually prevent the Nano boost if he does get that hack off, but doesn't go for it. Oh, he wanted to prevent the D-mech there. Not going to happen. Or remech, rather.
Would have been a pretty brutal punish if he could have gotten that EMP. Now going to be chucked out. They're looking for some targets, and Mono is a pretty prime one, so they go ahead and get rid of him. Now the hack is there onto Hot Buzz. He tries to retreat, but without being able to jet around, he's just way too slow, so does get taken down, and they have the follow-up kill onto him as well. New York, however, you know, a lot of ultimates getting ready to be online for them, so this is still very much possible with a reasonable time bank.
If they had gotten the Primal, you know, and he wasn't hacked, they would have used it and they would have actually committed to that fight there, and they just hold the ultimates instead, only using the Nano boost. So it was a good hack from Jinmu, the most important one in the EMP. But yeah, as you mentioned, they've got a lot of tools now. Molly's got the Transcendence to shut down Huxall's EMP. So if he could get that right-click hack before, that would be huge. Looking for Evil Doll and gets him.
That does get rid of one of the more crucial members of the Chengdu Hunters. Transcendence rolling for Molly to keep everybody else alive as the Primal Rage comes in, gets them all backed up into the corner, and Lee will get cleaved down. Mono exits safely with around 100 HP, stays safe as you get the break onto Elsa's mech and finish him off. The self-destruct from Hoppa, getting rid of the Baby Diva as well. So no chance for him to try and survive. Hoxel dumps the EMP, catches two, Bionade out onto them as well as Among will fall. The Yveltal tries to go out with that Valkyrie, but will get cut down, and this is looking like NYXL will close this one out. They roll back in, Elsa dropping the bomb, looking for some kills. Bubble keeps Hoxel protected, and that is enough time to go ahead and lock down the point with 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining, which I believe is exactly how much time they had on the finish of King's Row.
Yeah, I think you're right. Every decision that you make, has a consequence if you're the defenders, and one of the big moments for that defense, if you go back and break down every single move that the Hunters made during that attack, the big decision that was made was Molly transcendencing after Yveltal was right-click hacked. And I think the idea there was, okay, they're about to pile in on here. We're gonna have to survive the initial cleave damage coming through from Mono, and it's gonna get intense. Yveltal's already hacked. He's very likely to die. I think the idea is my trance is going to keep everybody alive. Might save Yveltal. He's a little bit late to do that, but I think when he pressed Q, he's like, I think I might be able to save him. Like, he made a last-minute decision on that. But now he doesn't have it for when the EMP hits, right? And that's when Yveltal is just simply not going to have enough healing output here to keep everybody alive, and then Mono just cleans everything up, even though his Primal's already expired. So that's a decision on Molly's part that it's hard to say whether he was wrong or not, because if he doesn't transcend there, perhaps Mono's cleave damage at the beginning of that fight just kills two members and then it's all over EMP or no, but that's a catch-22 problem you find yourself in when Hoxel gets a beautiful right-click hack on Yveltal right at the beginning and New York picks him off at the start. So good play from New York. And Chengdu Hunters now, tall task here to match the time bank. They're starting off with Jinmu's Genji. It is Temple of Anubis after all. See how long this lasts.
Knowing Jinmu, the whole map probably.
Could be. Good chance.
Unless he gets absolutely dumpstered. But that seems a little bit unlikely. Pulls back, falls low, jumps back around. Just playing Ring Around the Rosie right now with Mono. Using the window so he can go ahead and slide through there, so he does stay safe.
Yeah, Mono can be that far forward because he knows there's no Sombra on the other side, so he's always going to have that leap away. No stuns or anything like that to lock him down. No Ana. There you go. Calls for the healing, receives it. Will be safe for now as Sabiolbi just takes some dynamite to the face, but pocket heals are out from Anamo. Alive, leap to the side. Mono just zapping away, looking to get that break onto Elsa's mech. Can't quite find it. Falls low. With the help of that Discord Orb, now leaps back up here to the top to help take down Jinmu. Really nice pincer coming in from the side of the NYXL. They give up about 1.5 ticks so far, but they might be able to win out of the greater fight. Mono has to leap out to safety now. Nano Boost going to be expiring. Transcendence burned, and that is absolutely huge because Hoxel is just 8% away from that EMP, so this is very winnable here for New York. They don't have a blade, that's part of the whole reason why you run the Genji here is look for that blade fight, and Jinmu's just not able to do enough consistent damage here. So now Nano Boost to empower him.
EMP now out, Yveltal the first one to fall, Bionade layered in on top of Leave, and they will go ahead and get rid of the enemy Ashe. Now, Chengdu Hunters, again, going to have to reset and try to come back into this. Mono overextending a little bit. Will get cut down by Jinmu, who now does have that blade online. And Chengdu Hunters, a plethora of ultimates about to be at their disposal, but they want to be as conservative as possible in using these so they can try to snowball their way over onto point B.
Yeah, that's the idea anyways. Blade is almost 100% required here, but he's hacked. Can't use it, at least not yet. He's a find an angle.
This spot from Sabiolbi considerably better than the last one that we saw on their attack. We'll go ahead, gets rid of Leaves Bob as well. Now Among going to be down, and NYXL continue to hold on. Nano Boost, self-destruct, about to be online. Here the blade now coming out from Jinmu, instantly fell down to about half HP, but he gets rid of Jonak to start. Looks for a little bit more. Finds Sabiolbi, but then will get cut down as Mono picks up a triple kill on the back end of the fight. The Chengdu Hunters just haven't really been able to make their way over to that point yet. Minefield going to be dropped down on the exit. Mono pushing forward, just zapping away the mines, cleans this out. and
he's going to
no
swap.
one's on the point to contest.
Jinwoo's going to swap here. The Blade was hopeful thinking. Obviously, you know, it wasn't working. And when you're kind of already used half your ultimates as 4v6 fight, you know, obviously the Blade's not going to work. But, you know, if you get lucky, maybe things change. You've got a heroes that can rush back in. But he just wanted to swap to Sombra. But I think it might be too late here. I mean, they don't have a lot of tools anymore. And France here,
not great. Transcendence used, Hawksall hacked, but still just holding on to his own EMP. Self-destruct is out from Hotba. We'll get rid of the Baby Diva. There's 38 seconds remaining. The Chengdu Hunters have only been able to pick up a single tick so far. Even if they get this cap in overtime, it's going to be a 40-second difference from NYXL's finishing time bank.
I mean, they don't have any way to deal with Hawksall's EMP outside of a sleep, which is, I think, why Molly swapped here. He's still unscouted too, so I think the EMP is going to go off no matter what. Hack already attempted, so they know where he is, at least to the general idea.
Oh my goodness. That was Jinwoo almost getting punished for lack of awareness. Hawksall jumping forward. EMP comes out, looking for the solo onto Elsa. Will force a slight retreat here from the Diva. The OT forced out. Elsa makes his way down to the point. Dynamite blows up Saebyeolbi, but there's no supports here for the Chengdu Hunters. They trade one back as Hawksall will fall, but Mono leaping in, gets a melee hit onto Jinwoo, now pops the primal range to go ahead and smack the rest of the members away. Sees how low Leave is, and he wants to finish him off, which he will. Among finds one, alone on the point here for the moment. The minefield now going to be available. Goes ahead, drops that one out right as Elsa will get demech'd. Pushes Mono away from the point here for a second. Hotba gonna be taken out of the mech, throws out that self-destruct, finds a pick yet again, eliminating Elsa's Baby Diva. OT gonna start plummeting rather quickly here as the Chengdu Hunters try to hold out hope with just a single support alive. Among playing down along, trying to get out of line of sight here against the members of the NYXL, is unable to do so. The EMP comes through, however, manages to find 4. Hawksall the first one to fall. They get the D-suit onto Hotba. They take him down. Nano boost out onto Saebyeolbi, but a sleep is there from Molly. And suddenly Chengdu Hunters might yet be able to win this here in OT. Mono rejoins into the fight, however, manages to clean up 2. Molly and Leaf both going to be eliminated. Now he looks for a little bit more as the primal rage is going to be on its way, just 38% away here now for Mono. Saebyeolbi taken down, Yveltal dead as well. Yet again, no supports here for the Chengdu Hunters, and they have to stay stuck to this point like glue, or else that OT bar is going to plummet just like it does right there. And a valiant effort at the end from the Chengdu Hunters to try to get that cap on point A, but just too damn good from the NYXL. Mono comes back in, cleans up house, and now NYXL are 2-1 in this series. Match point for them.
Hoppa by himself on the point bought so much time as Diva. I think he got 2 kills. I know he got a kill on Yveltal. I think he got a secondary kill as well. When basically solo, I think 1v3 or 1v4 on the point. And he even self-destructed, right? Which helps buy a ton of time. He gets a kill there as well. And it almost looks like, all right, I see it, but like it's overtime. You're going to lose the point. So why delay this much? Because the time isn't going into the negatives at this point. But it's because he knew there was a really good chance that if he survived for the rest of the team to show up, Mono's going to come in, he's going to buy a ton of time, then Hawksall arrives, and then suddenly it's a winnable fight, right? Versus Chengdu Hunters, despite the spawn disadvantage. And Hoppa pulls off, just barely. He just barely pulls off, survive, delay. The rest of NYXL come in, they get that numbers advantage, they turn the fight around. And that was a really good call by Hoppa at the end of the day. And that puts them up to match point. They're 1 game away from making the playoffs here in 2020.
That they are. We'll see if they are going to be able to close this out, or if the Chengdu Hunters can step back into this, put another win on the board, and try to extend us even further into a game number 5. Again, 1st to 3, so down to the wire for the Chengdu Hunters, so you better be sending them all your energy if you are a Hunters fan. When we come back, we'll see if NYXL closes this out right here, right now, or if we'll have more Overwatch coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
All right, we are back. It is now down to the wire here for the Chengdu Hunters. They need 2 wins in a row if they want to advance. Otherwise, 2020 season for them is going to be put over. NYXL now at match point are going to be looking to close things out on Havana as we get ready to move into our escort map.
Yeah, and this is one of our weirder maps, one of the ones we've seen the least this season. It leaves a lot of open space, right, on A in particular, and then obviously once you get around towards the end of C, depending on how things are going, because if it's a steamroll push towards C, you don't have that much space, but those are the wide spaces where we might see even a Widowmaker make an appearance over the Ashe, just for longer range there. If you can get that sightline advantage, take the Ashe out, you can get a nice little advantage that way. So that's something we definitely could see between these 2 teams. No subs for either team, though, so no sub of, say, Byobi, who's historically, not an insane Widowmaker player by any means. You look at Nene for that. Pine sometimes historically, if you want to look back in NYXL's history. So Hoxell's not going to be playing it. So it seems like they're at least planning on keeping it meta. But the Widowmaker factor, always something to consider on Havana when there's no hero pool.
It definitely is. And I know that sometimes the chat gets confused, but I can go ahead and remind you guys and confirm that Pine is retired. So you can stop asking about where he is. I know that you're doing it all in jest. But, yeah, unfortunately for New York, don't have him. Would have to be Nene coming back in. But I think that this actually does give Chengdu Hunters a potentially significantly big advantage in that they can run that Widowmaker and they don't have to worry about that much opposition. We're seeing Sebiobi run the Ashe, and it's fine. It's passable. He's got some decision-making issues when it comes down to the Bob, but his aim is pretty good. But, if you're going up Ashe versus Widow, the Widowmaker on a even playing field of skill should pretty much always win. So
and neither of these players,
this could be an abusable advantage here for the Chengdu Hunters.
Sure. Neither of these players are like Leave and say Bilby. Neither of them, I don't think most people would put them on their top 5 Widowmaker players. I think a lot of people wouldn't have them necessarily in top 10 for the Overwatch League. So
yeah,
it's not going to be an epic duel by any means, but in terms of just kind of like what you're saying, the range difference, that you get with the Widowmaker versus an Ashe, the Ashe is just going to find it difficult to compete. You put someone like Carpe, you put a top 5 Widowmaker player in the Ashe seat versus a Widow, and they're going to have a hard time, or a sniper player, I should say, top 5 sniper player. You put even Carpe on Ashe versus, say, Bilby's Widow, and he's going to have a hard time winning that trade. Say, Bilby actually started with the Widow, but at the end of the day, they've made a last-minute change here. They're going for an aggressive Mei McCree Rhine setup right outside of spawn. Chengdu going to swap quickly to the Pharah and try to circumvent this by, just simply flying above it. It's very difficult to defend against the Pharah with the comp they've chosen, even with the McCree here.
Yeah, Silk could very easily get punished. Have to play around these rooftops, but Yebeltal, he is just going to go ahead and get taken down. Jinmu is 1 shot away from being eliminated. It will be a slight trade. Jonak going to be eliminated here as Among comes around the backside and will find Sebiobi. So that makes it that much safer now for Jinmu to push out and start building up towards this barrage. Oxal will fall. And while I don't mind going for this forward hold here, and NYXL showed, but unfortunately for them does not work out too well. They still obviously have more than enough time to get back and recontest, and that's why you're going to be seeing the swaps in the composition now.
Yeah, when you're looking at one of the best Pharah players in the world that pops out of the gate instantly when the setup is there, the spawn camp, a lot of people want to call it, whatever you want to call it. When you see that, that's when a lot of teams are like, oh, we don't have a great Pharah player. Well, they don't have a Pharah player right now, but it's Jinmu we're talking about. He helps break out. Sebiobi gets 2 kills, by the way, the McCree right away. Before the Pharah, before the Wrecking Ball can even challenge him, because he just doesn't miss, right? And that's really nice play on the McCree side, especially there at the beginning. It was like almost impossible for him to do what he did on that pick on Yveltal. Just didn't miss. He had 1 chance, so he died almost instantly afterwards to Among, but he got the job done before. That's a sign of a good McCree player who knows exactly where he wants to put his shots. Insanely good game awareness.
Among looking to go for that roll through, but will be forced to back up. Low on HP. Yebeltal jumped on. Hoxel finds that kill as the Nano Boost goes through onto Mono. Has that Discord Orb, so Nano just going to be helping to mitigate a lot of that oncoming damage. Ducks down behind the cart to rejoin in with the supports and fuel some ult charge over to the likes of Jonek. It's going to be much slower now here for the Chengdu Hunters, who are going to be looking to accelerate the pace to try to get this cart moving. Sound Barrier gets dropped by Anomal. Hawks, however, not receiving that shield, gets an arrow to the skull. Jinmu takes him out, tries to exit, does manage to get his way into that stairwell to stay safe. Mono will go ahead and capitalize on that Hanzo as the res comes through on to leave. They get the enemy Winston in the end. Cart now rolling forward with a minute and a half remaining. Seems like, yeah, NYXL just going to have to play back. As Amon going for a nice little spy check there on that Mega Pack. Does not find him, but gets Oxalt in the end. Sabiobi, however, returning with the McCree. Gets rid of Leave as Molly cuts him down to size. It seems like this is just going to be NYXL stringing forward. Try to go for, at least a Hail Mary defense, if not just drain some time away from the time bank here. Dragon Strike going to be rolling through straight to the center. Tries to get the knock onto Anamo into that Dragon Strike, does Among, but can't quite line that one up. Goes back through for another rollout. As it make his way up into the air to go for the pile driver. Now going to be hacked. EMP committed to the fight from the side of Hawksall. Manages to catch 4 members, and the cleanup is going to be there. Among dumps the minefield as Lee finds 2, and this fight is all over the damn place, Wolf.
Yeah,
really hard to say.
It's Chengdu in the end.
This was a bad day for me to try out contacts.
Yeah, there you go.
My eyes are flitting all over the place because I don't know where I should be following in all of this chaotic action.
In that last fight, it's the other side of the coin. So remember on A for Anubis, right? We had a very similar situation. You see all these ults get tossed in for New York, and they barely buy enough time to try to hold, but it doesn't work out this time, right? Chengdu do end up winning out. They get a few picks that Jinmu does with the burst he has. As Leaf's going to pick up 2.
Okay, Leaf.
They're going to keep pushing. But yeah, this is the other side of the coin, right? Now New York has few ultimates. They don't have sight lines controlled because they committed everybody to trying to stall. So that means Leave gets high ground for free. So that's where that 2K comes from, right? Like, no one can contest him. Say Bilby's running a McCree. You should probably swap, actually, at this point, because it was kind of an anti-Pharah, and it's going to be a Tracer swap, actually, not the Ashe swap to match. But yeah, this is the other side of the coin, right? If you make that risk as New York, or take that risk rather, you're sometimes going to run into problems with a really fast B push. But I think it was worth it overall, especially because they already had such a low time bank, Chengdu did. The risk was getting a full hold, in its best case.
Hotba, okay, does finally get broken out of that mech, so they force the self-destruct from him. A hack is there on the Yveltal. Hawksall has the cleanup. And this could still be very good for the side of NYXL. They look for the finish on to Leave. Does manage to survive with the sliver of HP. Transcendence forced from Molly as the cart is just in front of point B. Chengdu Hunters, if they can get across the line here, it would be pretty decent for them. Would be half their time bank used. Nice little flick, and the follow-up from Elsa means that Hawksall is going to be gone. Leave trying to pound as best as he possibly can, but Mono will be able to stomp him out in the end. Going to be demech to self-destruct out from Elsa. The bubble expires. Oh, Mono wanted that to last a little bit longer, but it does not. So he gets exploded. And now Chengdu Hunters, a net point B for themselves. Anamo in a rough spot, tries to escape, but Among is just too damn good.
I mean, Among is just not gonna, he's not gonna let you escape if you end up being in one of those situations where you kind of challenge him there, or you're too far away from the rest of your team. I mean, there's no way that fight is won in any way by Anamo, and you can't run away either, because Among will just kill him. Like, that was kind of a lose-lose situation. Zabiobi looking for a pulse bomb stick here, it looks like. Does get spotted, so just going to have to back off.
And it was out. Mono, the recipient, goes in with a primal range. Hawksall jumping up over the top, throws out the EMP, manages to catch 4 yet again. It's been a very solid evolution for Hawksall on this Sombra throughout the series. Rough start, now looking a lot cleaner. Good E onto the pulse bomb there from Elsa. Denies that away from Sabiobi, so cannot try to just go ahead and break him out of that mech. Dynamite goes in, catches multiple members on the side of NYXL as Leaf starts surging forward towards that next Bob. Cleanup comes through. Cart likely to start advancing here yet again as Chengdu Hunters get ready to round the final corner.
Yeah, this is looking really nice for Chengdu here. Right now, New York don't have great ultimates to stall this out. Veltal has this Valkyrie, which is why I think the observers are highlighting him, because he can really push the limits of what this comp is able to do here, while also keeping the damage high with that Valkyrie when he pops it. Like, everyone's going to be able to do a massive amount of damage. New York swaps Huxel onto the Genji. That's a really risky choice.
Okay. Well, this is a pretty good one here. They have Sabiobi now on that Widowmaker. Huxel moving up into the face of Lee, pops the deflection, starts to retreat, dips around the corner. as he gets a couple heals. So still feeling comfortable enough to play up against the members of the Chengdu Hunters, and the cleanup will be there as the rest of the team collapses. So good stability now going to be found for NYXL. This makes this hold a lot more possible for New York. Chengdu almost have 6 ults, however.
Yeah, they're not great ults, though. Like, there's not a lot of combos here, right? I mean, Dragon Strike's an amazing ult. I mean, you really look at this and go, like, okay, they got, like, a Trance and Self-Destruct and Minefield. Those are the 3 ults that are really going to be high impact, you'd think, in this fight. Bob can make a difference, but Zabobi's is looking for a pick right now. No, Minefield comes out first. Does it get him?
Bionade now onto Among, so he's going to have to retreat. Rolls his way all the way around the back. Minefield does find Hoxel, and Anamo going to be taken down by the Bob here. The leave coming up huge, but will get sent off the side of the map by Mono. But he needs to do a bit more than that with this primal range to stop the card from moving forward as we get ready to go into overtime. Among starting to clean up house. Hotba and Jonak both going to be taken down by this Wrecking Ball. Goes over to the side, spots out the Winston. He's working on taking down Mono, and he's able to do so. So another one claimed by the Hamster God himself. Rolls through, gets the shielding, goes for the pile driver, pops Hotba up into the air as he comes back in with a Wrecking Ball of his own. Immortality Field now going to be taken down. Sabiobi swung on by Among, gets rolled over. Also playing the point here for the moment while Among takes another little nap. But NYXL not going to be allowing him to push the cart in while he sleeps. Hoxel falling low with the blade out, goes forward, tries to get the hit on the Yveltal, but Molly manages to eliminate the Genji before he can do any more damage to the team. Mono takes a breather, retreats over to the side, having swapped over onto the Roadhog, trying to just find some sustainability. Dragon Strike rolls through, Immortality Field gone, Mono taking low, the Discord Orb onto the Hog means that he is a goner. As Jinmu finishes him off, dive in from Hoxel, goes straight into a mine with a seismic slam. Disappears as quickly as he did arrive. But crucially, NYXL, despite not being able to hold off this push from Chengdu Hunters, do take the clock down to 0.
This is a very, very close game that we're watching. I'm really enjoying it. The York Excelsior, you know, they failed to get the defense there. It's a full cap for Chengdu Hunters, 0 time bank. Pretty common on Havana to see a map finish with no time in the bank. But now we're looking at a world where Chengdu can force a map 5 with a really nice full hold here. And the problem with full holding on A for Chengdu is I feel like, you know, we talked about how neither of these players are extremely great Widowmaker players at the beginning, but I feel like Lee is getting outclassed by Sabilby in that regard right now. Now, he's going to obviously have the defender's advantage this time, which is part of the reason why Sabilby had such a nice time on the defense himself. But if Lee can't win out this duel, is not able to find consistent hits, is not able to threaten the back line on defense, and New York just steamroll through, then Chengdu is going to have a hard time, and they might even have to change up how they're playing to stop New York, because if New York does end up getting a great time bank here, with how Havana A can go, like, the overtime's not looking great for them. So, you know, let's see how this goes. I want to see how Sabilby fares against Leave here on attack, because if he ends up, you know, showcasing a better Widow here, then I'll eat my words and I'll say, you know, maybe we could see a solid defense here. He's looking for a flank right now.
Oh, hello. Among just chilling by the cart. We'll go ahead and be able to safely exit. Just waiting for his timing here. There's a nice little spray. Slow and steady is the pace right here for the NYXL. Not seeing too much hard commitment from the Chengdu Hunters on this defense, so allowing for the cart to move up pretty close now to point B, about halfway, or point A rather. Halfway there thus far, but Among finally finds a kill as Hoxel will be eliminated. Rolls through, just getting a nice little gentle smack onto Mono. He did fall dangerously low, but they weren't able to collapse to get the kill on the enemy Hamster. Ball on ball action here. Mono just going to be peeling back, waiting for the rest of his team to group up as Sabilby does get eliminated off screen by Elsa. Yeah,
I mean, in the chaos while Mono's tied up, there's no peel, and Sabilby just gets blown up. So this is actually really nice so far here. Good start for the Hunters. A little bit strange to see Hoxel come out as well on this Genji. It's a kind of anti-sniper strategy. Obviously, if you can get on top of Jinmu and leave here, it's going to be a great time with the blade, but he doesn't have it yet. It's a minefield on the cart.
Papa going to be desuited, doesn't have that self-destruct available to try to go ahead and get himself back in. So we'll have to pistol his way back up. And is under fire, falls low. Transcendence going to be used off-screen by Molly. As the Dragon Strike rolls in, just keeping everybody cut off. Everything is just trying to deny New York from getting over to that cart right there. Minefield, Dragon Strike blocking the path. Both will expire in time. And New York can go right back on the assault. Dragon Blade available here from Hoxall. Draws it out, dashes through, finds the Baby Diva, looks for a little bit more as the deflection goes up, takes down Molly with it. Beautifully done from Hoxall. 35 HP remaining, however, as the res comes out from Yveltal, so that both healers going to be back into the fight.
Among still alive.
Tries to stay alive.
Yveltal's insane.
Minefield. Yeah, dropped out. Sound barrier comes through as well from Anamo. They want to close this out right here, right now to get into point A, but a lot of ults being committed just to get this. Won't have much to use for the next stretch. Chengdu Hunters can find a foothold there that could be pretty important for them. Sabioli gets the snipe onto the Baby Diva. Hoxall going to be eliminated by Jinmu. But it's very much Chengdu Hunters who are bleeding out members right now. Leave on the cart, trying to buy some time, but they'll get taken down in the end. So point A snatched up here for NYXL. And 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining for the next stretch.
Notice that Chengdu doesn't do what New York did, right? They had already forced New York to kind of swap the weird heroes, so they just have leave, buy time. Among doesn't commit, they step back, and they control high ground. New York comes in without the ability to just take that away. Look at how uncomfortable Sabiolby looks here. I mean, he gets a headshot on a Diva, but otherwise, he's not able to get 2 kills like Leave did early on their attack because he doesn't have line of sight advantage. He has to slowly push his way through. So that's why backing off sometimes, just giving up the point is the better move, especially when you're ahead like this.
They do have Infrasight rolling. Sabiolby getting jumped on, running out of places to go. Gets that Mega Pack and will be able to stay alive for a little bit longer. Only the tank's there for him to take some shots at, so not going to be able to break anybody down yet. Leave hovering around the cart, has that pulse ready to go. Sees the chaos being caused here by Among. Falls low, pops that recall, keeps himself safe. Still playing around the cart, which has not moved too much yet, but Sabiolby finds a really great headshot there onto the mobile tracer. Gets rid of him, and now with Among gone, that's a lot of the harassment, a lot of the distractions that Chengdu Hunters can cause eliminated from the fight. Now they break down the rest of the damage, and they will be gliding forward. This is looking like a very good time for NYXL.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it could be. I mean, B is a section of this map where you really have to win the first fight as the defense to not lose control of the high ground, but they are going to contest. Very complicated contest here. As you can see, Among's trying to get in the back.
Oh, Yveltal going for the pistol. We saw a bit of this from him yesterday on this very map. Able to pick up multiple kills versus London Spitfire. This time around, not quite going to happen. Among, however, gets a melee hit, takes down Sabiolby, but Hoxall punishes him for it, and now holds on to that ever-crucial EMP, as Molly is still quite a ways away from the Transcendence. EMP comes out. Hoxall, the first one to fall, and only found 3 members, and none of those 3 taking too much damage. Yveltal will start getting chipped away at, but it seems like he is going to be allowed to be safe here in the fight as the rest of NYXL tries to exit on the back of Mono's death. Jinmu, however, pokes out the side. They will get as many staggers as they possibly can. Seems like it's going to be both supports going down here. As Chengdu Hunters now looking fairly stable, but just as quickly as I say it, Among moves up way too far forward, gets hacked by Hoxall and taken down.
This is looking like, New York can seal the deal on this and move to C, as long as nobody gets picked off here. Sabiolby's res. It's going to be the regroup now for NYXL. Chengdu Hunters have the ult advantage here, but New York, all it's going to take is 1 pick from Sabiolby, 1 kill, and things can absolutely go into their favor. Mono's got that Primal Rage, and they're just going to have so much healing to back him up. And look at this early trance, too, for Chengdu. I think New York's got a good chance at this.
Did have to get used. Yveltal taken down. Piledriver comes out, but the hack greets Among. So will be main tank from main tank, but still a 2-for-1 in favor of the NYXL now. Bob comes out from leave. Will be blocking Sabiolby off from moving up into the room, at least for the moment. But Hoxall, he is going back on the hunt. Makes his way around the side. A great headshot there. Cuts down an ammo, and with 10 seconds remaining, NYXL, they cannot afford any more losses, including a DMAC on Hadva. Reds comes down as Yveltal finds the space to bring Molly back into the fray. Hoxall now gone. EMP not in the fight, and they can't touch the cart.
Can't do it.
Oh my goodness, that was looking so good for New York at the start, but Chengdu Hunters continue the chaos. They trade out, they say, okay, you know what, we'll go for a 2-for-1, but we're gonna come back in, we're gonna just keep the fight going in between the reses, and then just win out in the chaotic style.
I mean, we saw double sniper, right? We saw the Hanzo and the Widow coming through from Chengdu. This is something that New York predicts. They run Haksal on the Genji right out of the gates, but I don't think it found the level of success that they were looking for. I don't think they were able to find as much value out of this, somewhat unusual pick right now in the meta. We've seen Genji struggle both times it's been used now in this series. And I think the idea is solid. Like, get in the back line, Dragon Blade, kill those snipers. They're fairly undefended. And there's no brig, right? There's no way to stun the Genji, so it's a solid pick. But at the same time, I think the fact that they weren't able to find value with that really limited their time bank. Then they started to get a little bit desperate. We saw the Doomfist come in, for example, for just a moment there. And they never really got the momentum swing in terms of ult economy that they were really looking for. And were constantly fighting down on ults. And Zay Bilby stepped up to the plate. It looked like there were a few fights where he had line of sight advantages, where he was going to get those kills, and that was going to lead to Mono jumping in, getting the primal, and pushing through. Like in those last two, or 1.5 fights we saw there, where NYXL weren't able to push the cart through to B. There were signs of life, it looked like, for them, but I think the lack of a time bank really hurt them. And now we're going to a 5th game where Chengdu Hunters could knock NYXL out of this tournament, prevent them from playoffs. Be a historical moment for the Chengdu organization, and they are very, very close.
It'd be absolutely huge for them. One more map separating both of these teams from advancing or from sitting out and waiting for the 2021 season. So all coming down to the wire. This is what you and I wanted, Wolf, a Game 5, and it is being delivered. That is going to be Oasis, and it is going to be coming up in just a few minutes, guys. So stay tuned, because I don't know which way this series is going to go, and we have to find out together, because it is damn exciting.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Up for a chance to advance into the semifinals. Chengdu Hunters one away from taking this over NYXL, and vice versa, obviously. This has been close all the way throughout, Wolf, and I really don't know which way this is going to go. This is very much a coin toss for me.
So you don't have a prediction on who's going to take it?
No.
No? I kind of feel like Chengdu's gonna take it, man. I kind of feel like I think they're gonna do it. I feel like the chaos that Control brings is kind of their style. I feel like Among's been playing really well. Evoltel's been playing really well too. I mean, not to mention that everybody else is doing fine, right? You know, everyone else is the glue that holds everything together. I think the DPS line on Chengdu obviously gets a lot of credit, but on nights like this, sometimes they don't, right? Where it really does feel like Among and Evoltel together are the ones doing the heavy lifting. But, yeah, I mean, it feels like Chengdu have broken expectations, right? A lot of New York fans were worried going into the night. Like, oh, Chengdu is kind of a weird team. It's a little bit wild card. Like, they might be able to get into our heads. But I feel like New York have, minus the Genji play we've seen, overall responded really well to the weird stuff that we're seeing Chengdu do right now. And I don't know. It's really hard to say. I'm leaning towards Chengdu, though. I feel like they are playing the better Overwatch. Just slightly. It's like 51-49, you know, for me.
I mean, it was so close the first time out on Control that it's almost too close to call. I think the only reason that I might say that I think Chengdu could close this out has nothing to do with how either team is playing tonight. It's strictly because whenever you and I commentate NYXL, they often lose. So I'm kind of basing that prediction solely on our casting track record for teams. I really don't know. I don't care who wins. I have no horse in this race. I don't support really any of the teams. I just want good Overwatch. That's what I support. I support good quality entertainment for us, for the fans, and then for, of course, for the teams who are playing. So as long as we get 3 close rounds or even 2 extremely close rounds here on Oasis, I'm going to be a happy camper.
I feel like
that's all I'm asking for.
I feel like with the already close series we have, we get 2 one-sided rounds. I'm still okay with how this series went. It's been a good series.
I mean, the series was still it wouldn't detract from how good this series has been, but man, what a high note it would be for one of these teams to go out on, at least from my perspective. Obviously, whoever loses here is going to be distraught and very upset and just patiently waiting for the next season to begin next year. But for me, it'd be some good stuff right there.
Yeah.
I do have some more subs here, though. Well, just the one, I believe. It's actually Kyo coming back in over Molly on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. So we've got
not a surprise, given how he started. Everybody else on New York Excelsior, same roster. This is it. I mean, this is, it feels weird because we're all doing this online, right? And, the players are in Korea, New York Excelsior players, the Chengdu Hunters players in China. You and I are in Korea, and no one's like on site, right? No one's in a studio, so it doesn't feel like, I think, to a lot of people, especially people stand up late at night to watch this, who've otherwise been used to watching Overwatch League in their time zone. I think a lot of people are looking at this going, man, Game 5, but the gravity hasn't sunk in yet. Like the reality of one of these 2 teams being done for 2020 hasn't sunk in yet, and I think for New York fans, it starts to feel like, uh-oh, we might lose this. This is really reminiscent of past playoffs. This is not an unusual feeling. This is not an unknown feeling. It's all too familiar, in fact, to be in this 5th and final game with New York playoff life on the line. And that's a sad and scary thing here for Chengdu. You're like, well, how far can we go? I mean, we're as close as we've ever been to those playoffs. Very close last season, very close on the edge of that cutoff line, everyone remembers. And, there is a lot on the line here. There is a lot at stake, even though it doesn't feel like it, right? I feel like, even to me, casting this match, because it feels like every other match I've cast from home, I think it hasn't sunk in even to me, but I think when that final control meter ticks down and we see that 100, that's when I'm going to realize that you and I have cast off, as a duo, our very first team of the season for us. And what a sad feeling it is, because it's so long until next season. And everything you've done all season long to lead up to this point for these 2 teams, like number 3 and number 6 for New York and Chengdu respectively here, might just go up in flames in play-ins before you even get to those playoffs. Think about that, a whole year.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But here we go. Moving their way out Symmetra there, and Jinwoo's going to be swapping over onto the Pharah now after boosting his team forward with the teleporter. No Sombra here for the Chengdu Hunters, but maybe don't need it. Mono just going to get collapsed on, absolutely obliterated as Leaf goes up into the air. It's a smattering of damage there onto Hawksall. Can't quite finish him off, goes back up top with the recall now and continues to go on the hunt. Yveltal, however, crucially picked off first on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. That limits their options substantially. Among now falling low as the point becomes unlocked, and YXL going to be able to get the first lockdown.
And they have the far better team composition for ult-based play. And that's how Control ends up being played a lot of the time. You get that first cap, you get the first EMP, you know, you're lapping your opponent's tank ultimates oftentimes. So right now, Among obviously has done a lot more damage. So he's going to get a minefield soon. Chengdu need to flip this fast, though, versus the EMP comp.
Hack onto Among. They're looking for the focus fire, and he can't roll out of there fast enough. The pocket healing is not going to be substantial enough either. Good hack onto Yveltal, making sure that he can't go in for that res. And I'm nice and safe here for now is Yveltal going to be eliminated by Anamo. Good plays from NYXL away from the point. Capitalize on these kills. Now looking for Jinmu, trying to force him into traffic, but he's got the booster, so he will be able to stay safe.
But he's alone.
Hunters still, don't manage to get anything on this point.
He's alone. He can't do anything more back there, right? He's got to get away. He's got to escape. He's got to wait for Yveltal to rejoin. He's back now.
Ooh. Really close call there from Sibyolbi. Coalescence comes out for some Keo. Pulse Bomb from Leaf. Not going to be able to find too much. Nano Boost invested onto Mono here. So he jumps up into the air looking to try and take down one of these pharmacy members. Leaf, however, eliminated by Sibyolbi. Former potentially best tracer in the world. Still looking good on this pick after, you know, a season of relative absence.
Yeah.
Shows that he still has the chops.
Jinmu just being forced back here by Jonak right now. Doesn't have a great angle for a barrage. They would love to have a DMEC onto Hoppa to make it happen.
Minefield used, Among taking a nap. Tries to escape, tries to get out of there, but is not able to do so. Hawksall finds the kill. Barrage coming through, but Jinmu taken down. Hotba finds that one as well. And YXL looking to close out this first round 100-0, and it looks like they will have it. Someone does manage to tag in to force out the OT, but I think that's about as good as it's going to get here for the Chengdu Hunters on City Center. Among goes back in with a pile driver, looking for a pickoff, unable to find one. Also trying to stay alive, trying to remech, but just cannot do so. Nano Boost now out onto Hotba, who still holds on to that self-destruct. It seems like he might just be using it in celebration as the OT does start to bleed away. And there you go, 100-0, an insanely strong start from New York.
And the composition the Chengdu Hunters were using is so difficult to win with when your opponent gets the first cap. And remember, it was actually the first kill going over to Chengdu Hunters. They got Mono first with all the extra damage and that choke, but they didn't have the staying power to actually take the point. Mono comes back quickly on the Winston. And the longer the rounds go, or rather the longer the first round goes here, New York, they have an EMP, right? They have Nano Boost, they have Primal, they have all these things to survive what the Hunters are trying to do. The Pharah really struggles to find any position to get a barrage off because Jonak's harassing, he's got sleep darts. It's just really hard. Yveltal keeps getting hacked by Hawksall. You know, Hawksall's even translocating in for some of those hacks, and you know, you need to get that first cap first, or you're gonna have a really hard time. So that's why you see the 100-0 one-sided New York victory here, and Chengdu's going to play it safe on the second round. Compositionally.
Hawksall, finding the hack there on the Yveltal. He's able to peel back, and Namo can't say the same, however. Among finds that kill, the Dynamite gets rid of Jonak. And this is a very strong turnaround here for the Chengdu Hunters at the start. Try and get this first lockdown of the point. They'll get the DMEC here onto Hotba. Can't afford for any kind of staggers. Obviously need to clear the point in order to get the cap. We'll go ahead and finish him off, and Chengdu Hunters, now for the first time on Oasis, are on the board.
Yep, and it's going to be a translocate away for Hawksall there. Does end up getting a little bit of extra EMP charge, so he's not too behind. In terms of the ults, though, obviously, you know, at the beginning of this, Chengdu's going to have the advantage. They have the point first, and the next fight goes their favor. They're going to have a lot of ult advantage. And Among is building these mines so fast.
It's been building up pretty quickly. Sibyolbi tries to get his way into the back line. Bionade connects on two on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. A lot of damage there out onto Elsa and Among. It was hacked. It seems like they will be able to stay alive, but the same cannot be said for the DPS duo of the Chengdu Hunters. They get picked off. Now the Primal Rage comes out from Mono. Really just to try and seal the deal, it would seem. I think the fight was already won. Probably didn't need to use that there, but better safe than sorry. Commits that to the fight. We'll just look to build up another one. Only 39% on the board for the Chengdu Hunters.
Yeah, Chengdu gonna have to wait for that Transcends to be ready. Won't have to wait long before they can engage. Knowing the Haksal will have the EMP, they can then counter EMP. And you can see the spy checks going on right now for both Divas. One right-click hack onto the support can change everything. If Jinmu hacks Jonak, or Jonak gets picked, then suddenly Jinmu has a really nice opportunity here. Oh, perfect
EMP, but Kyo, he's got it. Pulls the trigger on that Transcendence, and Elsa, just for good measure, will eat up that Pulse Bomb as well. Fantastically done from Kyo. And that might just be the flip coming back in favor of the Chengdu Hunters. Bomb up over the top from Hoppa, not going to be able to find anything, and Lee will go ahead and finish off the Baby Diva as well. A slight little lead here for the NYXL. They'll tag back in from Anamo, but he'll get finished off in the end as the flip comes through. 10% the difference now between these two teams.
The transfer from Kyo, it doesn't get more perfect than that. I mean, I suppose on the old Sombra when the cast was a little bit more instant, I suppose you could argue that would be a little bit harder than what we just saw Kyo do, but his reaction time was perfect. And that was the best he could have hoped for there. Shuts down the EMP completely. The follow-up there from Jinmu's EMP allows him to retake. Nano now out here on the Mono.
Yep, they're looking for Leave, and they do manage to finish him off. Sound barrier layered in for good measure for the NYXL. They want that staying power in the fight. They want that flip. Also with the self-destruct, lobs that one out here into the side room. We'll be able to remech. Chengdu Hunters now have very limited resources to try and take this point back into their favor. Hack comes out onto Elsa, they press forward, they'll take him out of the mech yet again, as Abiolbe has another Pulse Bomb online and doesn't have to be concerned about getting eaten again. Mono falling low, Primal Rage comes up, pops that one, goes straight back into the fight as the bomb is out on the point from Leave, and he'll find a headshot kill onto Haksal, further delaying that EMP by a slight little bit. Rez starting to come through there, but Among is back into the mix of things, trying to get that next minefield online. EMP out from Jinmu as they get the focus fire onto Hot Buzz Mech, and we're at 99% here for the Chengdu Hunters as they look to win this one out. Yveltal has been taken out of the fight. Kyo now joining him in the grave. No supports available, no main tank for the side of the NYXL, but it might not be enough. The flip is there, and now New York just going to be looking to defend. They have that EMP ready to go, and Kyo does not have a Transcendence.
Yeah, Kyo doesn't have a Trans. Chengdu doesn't have anything here, really, that's going to be a game changer. Not at the moment. You know, Yveltal's had some really nice Valkyries, and he's had some good reses throughout the series, but those aren't going to be what stops an NYXL from hitting a great EMP fight. They've also got Nano Boost, so Nano's going to give Mono the Primal. Haksal waits. He's waiting for a more ideal one. He wants to hit it as close to 99% as possible, so there's no chance for a retake. One fight only for Chengdu is what New York wants.
He's gone for this Ana to try to get the sleep dart, but the EMP still manages to come through. Clips onto multiple members on the side of the Chengdu Hunters. A Bionade was tossed in as well. Elsa tries to trade it back. Rockets take down Jonak. The sound barrier shielding just a little bit too late to try to keep that Ana in the fight. Sibiobi goes to the high ground with a Pulse Bomb ready and raring to go. Just waiting for the prime opportunity. Is now 99 to 99. They dive into the back. Kyo alone, taken down. Among gonna be gone. They have to stay glued to this, do the Chengdu Hunters, if they want to win this, if they want to take us to a third and final round. The self-destruct buys a little bit of extra space. The EMP comes out from Jinmu, manages to catch two, but the follow-up is just not there. Anamo finds one, Haksal finds the other. The OT bleeds away. And despite their best efforts, the Chengdu Hunters are done. They are out. NYXL take this series 3-2. And that is the end of the road now for the Chengdu Hunters. They will not be advancing.
The end of the road for Chengdu Hunters indeed, and I think it was a good end to the season for them. They had a rough regular season. There were times where Chengdu looked dominant, but they were few and far between, right? There were a few weeks of play, a few specific hero pools where Chengdu looked like they had it figured out better than everybody else. But otherwise, you know, most people were saying, oh, well, Chengdu, you know, they tried it different, but it didn't work out. They tried it differently, it didn't work out. Oh, Chengdu, is this team ever going to be able to take this? Are we ever going to be able to take this team seriously? Is the question people asked. But I think they made a great showing here in play-ins, destroying London yesterday, and then coming in here against New York and making it very competitive, very close. I mean, that final round we just watched almost went their way. I mean, we might have been looking at a third round and potentially New York out of the tournament. But it's New York who take the advance to the playoffs, and they did it in, I want to say, pretty smart fashion. You know, they really responded well to what Chengdu was doing in this series. Haxel had some questionable moments for sure, but I think the tank line and the support back line, the bread and butter of New York across all 3 seasons of Overwatch League, is what really got them the victory here.
Yeah, I mean, really, really close. So again, congratulations to New York, and congratulations to Mono, who is our player of the match, presented by Xfinity. Clean play from him throughout this entire series for the most part. Maybe a couple of overcommitments from time to time, but on the whole, was looking very consistent with the Winston and the ball.
The cool thing about Mono too is, I mean, he's always been one of the most consistent main tanks in the league. He's a role star for good reason. And a lot of people always are sad that he's not considered for MVP because of his consistent play across now all 3 seasons. But the crazy thing about it, too, is his play style is almost always the same on Winston. He's got Jonak healing him. He just is very aggressive. He looks for fast cleaves. He builds fast primals. And a lot of what Mono's able to achieve is because his support line is so good at making sure that it's possible. And that includes his off-tank, in this case, Hapa. It's been Bianca the last few weeks, though, as well. Helping to keep him alive, helping to peel for him. And when he gets those opportunities, he's incredibly consistent. And he was a great, big boon for New York Excelsior in a lot of these team fights and helped clean up kills for the chip damage we were seeing from, say, Bilby on hit scan, at range with the Ash. So he ends up getting player of the match, very consistent. Let's see how far he and the rest of the team can go as we head into playoffs, because New York, a lot of people would say they're cursed. I think people only say that because the results are always so good. They're always so consistent in regular season, and they fall short of what you think they're capable of in playoffs. And people attribute that to choking. People attribute to, it's a curse, or they just will never do it. But it's a new season. It's a new day for New York. The possibility is there.
It certainly is, but we do have to, again, say good night and adieu to the Chengdu Hunters, who unfortunately are now eliminated. Looking forward to seeing this team again in the next Overwatch League season, because they are always so very entertaining to watch. One of the most original teams that we have in the entire league, whether it's in APAC or North America. You never really know what these guys are going to pull out, and even if it is predictable, they'll be playing it in a different way than everybody else. So always bring the chaos to the table. They thrive in it. Unfortunately, just didn't thrive enough versus NYXL. But that's just us getting started, Wolf. We already have one 5-game series to kick off the evening for us here in Korea. We've got another one coming up in just a few minutes. That's going to be the Seoul Dynasty going up against the Hangzhou Spark again. Another down to the wire series where the loser is eliminated. So stay tuned, guys. The stakes are still high.